for like 1,000 hours. Where do you think I got this sandbox obsession from? I watched him play. We used to play 2 different 360s, system linked together for Battlefield 3 and fucking, you know, Battlefield Bad Company and shit like this. And we like, you know, and we would play Dark Souls and we would connect to each other and try to do co-op runs and shit. But we would mainly just play the sandbox that is Dark Souls for thousands of hours right next to each other while we smoked weed and drank. That's one of the reasons why I thought I could be a streamer. I thought if I could sit next to my best friend and play Dark Souls for, you know, for 1,000 hours while he plays Dark Souls for 1,000 hours. But we're not playing the same game. You know, we're not playing in the same game. We're not playing multiplayer or whatever. That's how you know that we're fucking sandbox fanatics. Like, okay, I can tell you what the greatest sandbox is of all time. It's Star Control 2, bitch. And I'll fight you if you say differently. I mean, it is Grand Theft Auto 3. But I mean, Star Control 2 came first, so it's sort of a conundrum there. There's a chicken or egg. It's either Star Control 2 with the chicken or, you know, Grand Theft Auto 3 with the egg. By the way, I have played something like 1,000 hours of Star Control 2. You bitches probably have no fucking idea what that is. I do. Because I'm a sandbox king, bitch. I'm king of the sandbox, motherfucker. King of the sandbox. King of the tweakers, too. Drugs don't fucking scare me either. I'm king of the tweakers. I'm king of the sandbox. Like, you know, I'm not bad at the sandbox. But, you know, I mean, Donald Trump is good at the sandbox. But he's bad at, like, you know, like doing the sandbox without a bad reputation. Sandboxes. There's a guy in the sandbox. He's real. Maybe I should reload. He sure did kill that guy pretty quick. 5 shots and he was dead. Let's assume he's real. But it's a sandbox. You never know. He might be a bot. Who the fuck cares? It's a sandbox. Doesn't matter if they're real. Like Trump. Trump's not real. Doesn't matter if he's, you know, in the sandbox. Oh, 200, bitch. That's not good for you. Yeah. Oh, nope. It's not going well for you, bitch. Terribly sorry. You're caught up in the sandbox. You got mobs. Oh! Caught up in the sandbox. You're wasting all your ammo. There's a guy in the sandbox trying to kill you. Oh, I don't know how you lived, but... Bye. Thank you. I warned you. He should have zigged when he zagged. Should have zigged when he zagged. He zigged when he should have zagged. Sandwich when he should have pizza. He pizza when he should have sandwiched. Dude, more loot in the sandbox. I honestly don't care, but I mean, yeah, more loot in the sandbox. Nice. See it? I don't care about the sandbox. I don't care about the stories of the Bethesda, like, NPCs in the sandbox. I don't care about that dude I just killed. It's the sandbox. You guys seem to think that the sandbox needs to give you fucking perfect stories or whatever. I totally disagree. I don't think so. That's not what makes sandboxes truly great. Sandbox is 5v1 in the dungeon. I had to tell them, brothers, please don't attack me. There's a 5v1 down the road. Go kill them. Go kill them. like I said in Mortal today, and I talked 6 people into walking past me. I socially engineered 6 people to walk past me because I know how to survive in the sandbox. I tell them I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy who's ever fucked with you. Do you know my name? You don't know my name unless you're some piece of shit stream sniper fucking obsessed fucking fan. Like, you don't know my name. You actually don't. So it's like kind of weird. Like, do you know my name? No, you don't. So don't kill me. You don't know me. And I know how to convince people in the sandbox not to fuck with me. Cops. You know, sometimes you have to bribe them. It's the same, but I know how to fucking get through the sandbox. It's not that hard. Have I ever bribed a cop? No. But it's on the list. One day. Okay, I'm done saying sandbox. I'm sorry. Oh, look, 9 minutes left in the sandbox. I gotta go drive this mission in this sandbox while I play another sandbox. And yeah, there is a mission running. Was that somebody shooting at me? Yeah, no. I need a car in the sandbox and then I'll feel safe. I guess I'll use this potion. I really don't want to. Wait, that thing's probably really good. Or I don't know. This is enough. Here. That sounded like a car, but it was GTA. Okay, so how's the sound? Sound is good. Yeah, we're doing okay. Oh, look, it's a drop. Oh, I need this thing right now. I need that thing right now. Ooh, what's that? I mean, I don't really want it, though. I need that thing right now, and I'm full geared to slaughter anybody who fucks with me. So I'm just gonna sit here in the sandbox and do nothing. I'm gonna sit right here. Did somebody shoot at me? No. I'm gonna sit right here outside the car where nobody can hear me. Because I know it's a sandbox, and if you sit in a car, they can hear the engine. And I'm gonna do a Grand Theft Auto ammunition mission while I win a Fortnite match. Because I know the sandbox, bitch. You don't. You don't know how it lives and breathes. I knew he would come. It was only a matter of time. Now I want to go kill this guy. Thank you! I warned him. Are we doing this or what? I don't know. Oh, you killed me? I might lose this mission. Oh. You're so annoying. Oh, I missed him! God damn it. He jumped? How did he jump? Wait, did he jump? He jumped. No, he didn't jump. What the fuck was this? What the fuck is going on? $20 left, 3 up. Been playing in the sandbox too long to hear tales of like, you know, Bethesda or Skyrim. Terribly sorry. What was that? You're like shooting at me? Are you shooting at me? I think you are. I don't want you to shoot at me. I want to see if you're standing there. Let's see if he's standing there. He is standing there. Oh, yeah! Come on, fall death. Yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, it was brutal. You saw it coming. I knew I had it when I was like, come on, fall death. The sandbox is brutal. You must respect the fucking fall damage. I learned from Rust. You can't be near cliffs. Don't be hanging out by cliffs. Don't be hanging out in trees by cliffs. It's not gonna happen. I'm not doing that. I'm doing it, but I'm not, like, shooting. I'm not shooting and letting you know that I'm there, because you'll just knock me off the cliff like that with my high-speed sports card, you know? I knocked you off that cliff, bitch. You know how good that kill was. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to brag. Try to be a little bit less egotistical these days. But I mean, if you want to live in the sandbox and thrive and survive, you have to be egotistical. It's fucking annoying. I hate it. Swagger is a fucking, you know, a stain you can't you can't wipe off. Swagger is a stain you can't wipe off. That's Lil Wayne. I can't believe Donald Trump pardoned Lil Wayne. That's insane. What's the story on that? See, now I'm about to do what that guy did. But it's a lot harder to hit me with a car right here. See it? A lot harder. See it? There's like rocks and stuff. They don't want you to get hit by a car right here. So it's a lot safer to do what he was doing here than it is over there. And that's my thought process about the sandbox too. Is it's like, am I doing what idiot did that I killed him with? And it's like, yes, I am. But the difference is I can just run right here, you know, and I'm okay. That guy just ate the floor, you know, and died. Sandbox does not care about your fucking feelings. Oh, yeah, did we lose this? Oh no, yeah, we like probably lose this, huh? Yeah, I lost this. I don't think I even got like nearly down the beach or whatever. Where am I going with this stupid mission? I don't want to do this anymore. Just take me to a private scene. I don't know. I don't want to play Grand Theft Auto right now. I'm already playing like Fortnite. What's all this then? This guy drew attention. What's that bitch? Thank you. Whoa, what had happened here? You didn't take my shockwave grenades. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what happened. Bye. Oh! You got fucking owned! God damn, I'm on fire today. 6 down, 8 up. Wish me luck. Come on, you had to have something else, right? Yeah, like that. Yeah, that's good. Ooh, that's good. Ooh. Oh, he was out of gas! He tricked me. Oh, the sandbox. I should have assumed the sandbox would lie to me about the gas in the car. At the gas pump. I can't believe I did this. I had a car right there. What's wrong with me? Well, no, I mean, there's a car right there. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I didn't play the sandbox right. I didn't play the sandbox right. God damn it. Oh, these guys are still here. I want this to end. End this now. Hey, fool. Yeah, your car was out of gas, you fucking asshole. Good job. I shot the wrong car. I never should have left that room. I don't know what I was thinking. I had so many good kills that match too. I had a good headshot on that guy around the corner. It was a good headshot. Fucking wasted him. Rust. I've noticed that Rust makes me a lot more accurate for some reason. Like when I play Rust, my accuracy goes up. Definitely. I had the sand lizard forever. That's funny. Here, rest for a second.
All right, I've confirmed with the store. As soon as you drop the parts off, they'll...
Your skill has increased.
My skill has increased? Oh no. Ah. Wait, I want you to sit again until you're full. Did you kick me out? Yeah, I don't care about you kicking me out. I want you to restart the match. I wasn't totally ready. I'm right at the end here. I could probably recover, but I'll just restart. No, I want you to restart. Yeah, just start the match over. Go back, return to lobby. What? Come on, man. I looked away for 5 seconds. The fuck's your problem? Ah. I forgot about Festival. I should play Festival. I've never actually done it. 5%. God damn. Doesn't feel like that. It's 5% because you can sprint around and get a really good fast circle. But 5% is actually really low. That looks awesome. Military rank B. This guy did not hit me. He's running like a pussy. Oh god, there's another guy on foot. They're gonna kill each other, and I'm gonna kill one of them. Gotta reload this. Is there anything else I need? Not really. Here, look at these two chests. I want these two chests before I leave because I need ammo really bad, or a real gun, one or the other. You know, I think I like this gun more than that. Right now, anyways. Oh, yeah. Am I down? Oh. Thank you. This guy let me alone. Yeah, that's what I would do too. I let him go, huh? I just like lost interest. That's me. That's the sandbox. I don't care about that guy. I'll let him live. I don't care. I'm better than him. Fuck was that? I saw somebody jump over there, I think. What was that? Oh, maybe it was these flowers having like a visual like screw up. Probably the health is safer. It's hard. It's debatable. Right now, the armor is probably more likely to use. I'm more likely to use the armor this early in the game. So it's like DMCA. Could do this better. It doesn't seem like it really works, frankly, like half the time. Look, it doesn't work like half the time. Now, what are we looking at here? Who are we looking at here? We heard something. Where is he? Yep, no. We heard something. Where the fuck is that guy? There was like action here. I like beating the grass to startle the snakes. There's such snakes. He's like, how did you hit that shotgun from like 140? I don't know, buddy. I took the shot. I have no idea how I hit that. But I did. I hit 40 damage from like no reason. I don't know. It's probably better than that. Frankly, it's probably better than the shockwave grenade. I'm scared to not take them. I'm scared not to take them. I will take the large over and the shock. But I'm scared not to take the shockwave because I need a way out. I know this dude's going to do something I don't like. I've already seen him once, and I've let him roll. I don't even know who I'm talking about, but I'm fairly sure. Oh, there he was. You see him? Was that him? No, that's a tree. Shit make me paranoid, man. I mean, these don't stack like larges do. Oh. Oop. Thank you! Thanks for the car. Very nice of you. Oh. Yep. No damage. Perfect. Flawless victory. Do I take the blue? Yeah, I'll probably take the blue. Probably take the green over that thing. Take the blue over that. Yeah, this thing's got me in trouble lately. Maybe the shotgun's a little bit more definite. I stole your car, bitch. What are you gonna do? Sorry. You want some? We could do it. We could do it. Where'd you go? Where'd you go, bitch? Did you run? You didn't run that way, so whatever. There you are. No damage. He's all freaked out. He's like running. Oh, I hit him again. It's just murder out here for this guy. It's murder. He can't catch a break. Maybe I should go back to the gas station before it closes. I don't know. He did fuck me up. I don't know. Where is the gas station from here? It's like that way. I don't know, I could just take a new car. But this car is better than that car, so... Oh, I really wanted him. God damn it, I wanted that kill. Enough to, like, lose this match, maybe. Nope. I don't know. Where's the thing? There. Where's the thing? Get out. Fuck is he? I could have just taken a new car, but no, I had to do this. Fuck. I really wanted that knock kill. I've already had a really good knock kill tonight. Really good fall damage kill, but I mean, like, I wanted two. I wanted two of them. Two of them. I got greedy. Now I'm probably going to lose the match. I saw a car around here. Where was it? Where's the car? There's one. Ooh. Yeah, there it is. There it is. There it is. Wait, so I'm hurt. I guess I'll have to use one. Yeah. Don't shoot at me. There's a campfire. That's good. Is that him falling? No, it was a bird. Oh, fucking annoying. Hurry up. Okay, gotta leave this area now. Okay, 2 down, 10 up, guys. Wish me luck. I don't know how I place top 10 consistently every time, but I do. Probably just because I've done it too much. The team that I was with, they were very demanding. They wanted wins. They weren't demanding, excuse me, at all. They were just demanding of themselves. They were like demanding of wins of themselves. So I kind of feel like them. Oh. Got a few shots here. If I can pop the car, I'll kill him, but I gotta reload first. Oh, there's another one. Same thing. Deja vu, bitch. Let's go again. Oop. Sorry. Deja vu. And I'm full health. Did you see that beautiful jump in the car thing I did? It was like a movie. Did you see it? It was good. I should hire somebody to do clips, because I have some good clips, I swear to God. Yeah, you best run, bitch. You best run. Ooh, there's a blue thing. Cute. So let's take the minivan to the bush and force this guy that has to come down the alley to deal with me. He's got to deal with me if he wants to come through this corridor. You can't come through this corridor. Go somewhere else. Yep. This is my shit. This is my shit. You can't come through here. You know I won't. I won't let you. You know I won't let you. You know I won't. I dare you to try it. I know you're thinking about it. You're like, I've got to get out of the quadrant. Oh, no, wait, he's right here. He's right here. Sorry, Diabeto 570ist. What was that? Maybe I should take that just because it's like fucking good. Oh, what was this now? Oh. Okay. He's like, fuck, this guy's so good. What's this now? You didn't try the bush, huh? Oh! Take that, food, Topher! Food, Topher? Ouchies for him. Ouchies. No damage. Ooh, he's got a pretty little gold thing. Oh. I want to let him pass. Does he know I'm here? Oh, take that, Toaster Man 5000. Wahahaha! 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 Look at all the loot that's just lying there. 5 up, 5 down, bitch. Let's try. I'm in the top 5. I don't care if I lose. And they all tried to get to my nice van that's not been touched, and they couldn't. Show up, bitch. I know you want to show up. There you are. There you are. There's 2 of them. 3 of them. He went into the storm, bitch. Fucking dumb. What's he doing? It blew. Did it blow? He ditched, definitely. He met somebody down there. Oh, there's a crown down there. I want to go get it, but I can't. There's so much loot around me, but I can't do it. I can't do anything. Look, I don't have to move yet. I don't have to move yet. I don't know. What should I do? I don't think I need this anymore. Well, I don't know. This is a good gun. It has a good scope. I want this instead of that. Look, he's moving. He's moving. Where is he? Fuck is this guy? Is that him? No, that's not him. That's not him. Oh, there he is. There he is. Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna fuck you up, bitch. I'm gonna get in this car. I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna fuck you up. Whoo! Yep, it mattered and I did it. It mattered and I did it. Okay, new car. No, old car. Yeah, new car, new car. Okay, so... I'm gonna sit here until I have to. Load here. Put a lot of damage into his car. I don't know where he's at. 5 down, 4 up. Wish me luck. Alright, here we go. There they are. They're fighting. I want to move. Is he right there? No. Where is he? I have to move. Is that him? Yeah, that's him. Oh! God damn it, he really hit. He really hit. That son of a bitch. God damn it. Gotta heal. Yeah, right. Yeah, I have cover. Ooh, whatever that was. Fuck is he? Where is this? Oh, no! Go! Go, go! No, 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 no! You're giving me a disadvantage. No, no. Is there health? Yes, there is health. Okay, you switch. I don't know why you switch guns on me, but okay. He's gonna shoot my car. Ugh, whatever. Oh, it was close! It was close! I didn't have a rocket launcher. Good job. Second place, I'm okay with it. Yep, yep. Good job, Lord Vader. Great name. 11 o'clock. I believe I will get off this game. I didn't get a win tonight. Did I get a win tonight? No, but second place is fine. Fine to me. I don't care. That's close enough. You know, whatever. Yeah, done on GTA. Did I get the mission done? I did. I should run a cash mission because I'm almost done with the Kasaka submarine. I could buy the Kasaka submarine right now. I could call up the dude and I could watch the videos, but no, I want to do that when I'm fresh. I'll wake up either tomorrow or the day after, and I keep saying that for days, but it's like, nah, I want to make sure I have enough money. So I think I'm done with this for tonight, actually. Yep. And then I will get on some Mortal. I will get on Mortal. And I will fight Bandit. Goodbye, Fortnite. It was fun. Good little sandbox. Little sandbox. So you went back.
This video is sponsored by the...
You went back. I was right there.
Very sad. Before I could even think about unlocking an achievement, I had to get
This is the... You know, it's funny. This is exactly the sort of person... This is kind of like my best friend. This is the kind of sort of person that I would figure for a completionist. Yeah, he strikes me as the sort of personality. My best friend has this sort of personality. You know... Sometimes you can be a nerd and still be inspirational to people. It's sort of weird like this. They have like enough personality.
Start of the game first. The beginning section of Starfield acts as sort of a soft tutorial and eventually has you uncover an
See what he has to
artifact
say.
that kicks off
I'll be
the
right back.
main
I gotta
quest
pee.
line. It actually does a pretty good job at teaching you the game's new features in a short amount of time, and because of that, I grew increasingly more confident that I had what it took to complete this challenge, especially after it was immediately apparent that my Bethesda game instincts were still as sharp as ever. Okie dokie. Please don't laser me. What happens if I laser them? Damn it. No, where's my quick save? This section only took about 15 minutes, and once I got to the end of the tunnel, I looked through the universe's wildest kaleidoscope and woke up in a hospital bed where the fun really begins. The character creator in this game has a ton of options, and since the relatively quick intro made me feel like I could spare the time, I decided that I'd take a couple minutes to try and make a character that at least vaguely resembled me. And so I went to work refining my craft. I wanted to create a magnum opus, like that of Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa or Michelangelo's Statue of David. But once I got super far into the character creator, I ran into a problem. The character I created was incredibly handsome. I think you see my issue. Not only that, but I completely lost track of time and this process had taken 20 minutes, which obviously did not help things in the slightest. What does my forehead look like? This looks nothing like me. I should have just made something completely different. I'm wasting time! Mistake. Oh my god, there's so much. Alright, does this look anything like me? No. Am I gonna fiddle around with this even more? No. Before I could continue though, I still had to choose the background and traits of my character. A lot of these choices give you unique skills and dialogue options to provide some fun immersion, whereas others hit just a bit too close to home. Dude, these are cool traits. Wait a second, hold on. Comfortable house on peaceful plan, unfortunately, comes with a 125,000 credit mortgage. It has to be paid weekly? Dude, I'm already in debt outside of the game. I don't need this. For the purpose of this challenge, I went with the industrialist background. This was so that I could build towards the crafting and lockpicking achievements early, as well as effectively persuade people to make some quest objectives faster overall. I also selected the adoring fan trait to get a free companion towards the 10 I would need later on, and before I knew it, I was thrust into space and unlocked my first achievement 50 minutes in. Oh, hold. Let's go into the starfield. Enter space for the first time. We're out here. First of many. Even though I'd finally unlocked something, I still wasn't off to the hottest start. Thankfully, however, it turned out that the next few achievements weren't too far off from there. The one small step achievement requires you to join Constellation, which is done by completing the first main mission of the game. During that time, I had my first ship dogfight where I learned how to not loot destroyed ships. I just run into it. Nope. No, you don't do that. Landed on a close by planet to sneakily kill some pirates. So how do I crouch again? B, yes. Alright, well, you know, maybe crouching after I get seen is not the stealthiest way to go about things. Call me crazy, but... And arrived at New Atlantis, the first main hub world in the game. This city, conveniently, is also home to Constellation, so once I arrived at their home base, there was only one thing I wanted to do. I'm in.
You should take some time to get settled in.
Thank you. Oh! Let's go! Another achievement unlocked! Joined Constellation. Alright, that is 2 out of 50. Okay, well, when you say it like that, this is not very good. That wasn't all I was able to get done here either. The next achievement I set my sights on was Chief Engineer, which is unlocked by making a modification to your ship. This can be done by talking to an engineer at the spaceport and purchasing a new component or upgrade. The price of these components luckily wasn't a problem for me, as ever since I saw a half-eaten sandwich was worth $75, I assumed inflation was out of control and started sucking up all the expensive loot I could. I did have to wander around over encumbered for a while looking for a weapon store. Where do I sell guns? I have a lot. Residential district? No! I went the wrong way! But selling all my items off in the commercial district netted me a lot of credits early on, and let me get this achievement without a second thought. Except... Nice! Chief Engineer, modify a ship. Hey, this isn't too bad. We're only like a little over an hour in. Before you know it, I'll be at 50 in no time. It's not even a problem. Why even do 24 hours? I could have just done 12, honestly. Sheesh. And even after that, I was already on the verge of the Dust Off achievement, which is obtained for reaching level 5. It turned out that I was only a mission's worth of XP away at this point, so I decided to do another main mission to push me over the edge. This mission, however, probably couldn't have gone any more wrong if I'd tried. Hello.
This is how you properly game. You have a life, like me. You play a lot of video games, like me. Both. You do it somehow both. You have a personality like this guy. You have a positive outlook. And you track guide from guide to guide to guide to guide, just tracking and telling you how to do things perfectly. And this is how to do RPGs the correct way. I hate it. I've never been like this.
Oh.
I just go somewhere. I don't care where it is. If they tell me to do something, I do it.
Oh, he's chefing it up.
But not in order.
Yeah,
I don't do it in
you know,
order. It just sits on my list until I just randomly choose it.
Talented, a scary space mercenary and a chef. Hey, ladies, I think he's single too. What's going on, my guy? Ooh.
What?
Hey, ow! Ooh. Okay, he also has anger issues. Never mind. Red flag.
Why
ladies,
isn't he
red flag.
dying? I forgot how bad this game is if you don't change the settings.
Well,
no, he has like the worst gun in the game, though. To be honest.
There's the dude. Wait, I want to see what happens if I... Okay. All right, that's your own fault. You could have had a very...
Oh, you're so bad at gaming. I can't watch you, though. I'm terribly sorry. I love you, but, you know, I liked you more than AVV Gaming. I'll tell you that. He was a lot more negative than you. I'm really negative, but the problem is I come to those decisions like honestly, you know. The Elder Scrolls 6 is cooked. Come on.
Hit with a lock today.
To the extent that folks believe that he
Let's
was...
start over.
Rampage Jackson, son, if you're not in that world, Rampage Jackson, very famous fighter.
No, we watched this part.
Oh,
but... Sorry, start
love
this.
to know your thoughts. But then, next up, while we're on the topic of people who should be locked up, we've got to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell, because her interview with the DOJ is now public, and there's a lot to dive into. And where we'll start is with the Donald Trump of it all.
Did you ever observe President Trump receive a massage?
Never. I think they were friendly, like people are in social settings. I don't think they were close friends, or I certainly never witnessed the president in any of, I don't recall ever seeing him in his house, for instance. I actually never saw the president in any type of massage setting. I never witnessed the president in any inappropriate setting in any way. The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all.
Okay, so either he bought her or she's telling the truth. Whichever. It's the sandbox. I'm just here. I'm along for the ride. Let's see where it goes. I don't know what happens here after this.
Respect.
And did you ever hear Mr. Epstein or anybody say that President Trump had done anything inappropriate with masseuses or with anybody in your world?
Absolutely never.
Now with that, of course, we're seeing a lot of skeptical reactions because arguably she has a lot to gain by saying this. Right? Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence. She's already expressed her desire to be pardoned, and Trump said publicly, "I'm allowed to pardon her." So even though Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche prefaced the interview with this,
By you meeting with us today, we're really just meeting. I'm not promising to do anything.
Hey, kitty.
I'm not promising to ask Judge Nathan or any of the judges that's been assigned to the case to do anything.
Yeah.
We're just talking.
you have many arguing
Like
that the
your
promise
dinner?
doesn't have to be
Was it good?
stated or written down on paper, that it's just obviously implied. And with that, you have people pointing
I
to
love
how in the
you, my
interview,
kitty.
Maxwell even really seemed to butter up Trump.
President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me, and I just want to say that I find
What was that
I
sound?
admire his
Oh, no.
extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and I like him, and I've always liked him.
And of course,
Ouch,
you're seeing
ouch,
this as
don't
Maxwell has now
scratch,
already been
Kitty.
transferred to a famously cushy prison for white-collar criminals in Texas, and we still have no explanation for why that
No.
happened. But also, with Maxwell, she didn't just exonerate
Stop.
Trump. She threw a bucket of cold water on the idea that Epstein kept some kind of client list.
There's no list. There's no list of people getting massages. I don't have. I can barely recall all the people.
You're lying. There's no list. It sounds like she's actually just psychotic. I don't know. The 100 gil is good too. Every 10 you get like 1,000. It is progress. I don't know. Is there better mobs than this? I don't know. This guy, he's not really the best mob. I suppose I should look for the best mob. Is it the bandit? Oh, I'm sorry, kitty. Drops gold beast coins in Soja. This in Soja. And they're in Cape Tarikan too. They do it here too.
There was no list, there was never a list, there was no, or certainly none that I ever saw, none I ever heard of, none that I ever witnessed, there's no list. There's never been a list.
And then you also had her shooting down the theory that Epstein had dirt on other people that he blackmailed them with.
I never heard him ask any question of any masseuse who may have given a massage to a friend who was on the island or in Palm Beach or anywhere else, about any details about that massage. Like, does he have a funky foot? No, I never heard that. It's weird.
Right, and then when
She sounds like
whether
she's
Epstein was
lying.
affiliated in any way with the FBI, the CIA, or any other intelligence or law enforcement agency, she replied,
I don't think so. I think that I don't remember anything like that. I just don't think he had the wherewithal, and I think that whole aspect of that is, can I use a bad word?
Yes. Yes.
Bullshit.
you know, while you had many skeptical of what this woman who has been charged with perjury is saying, she did throw at least one thing out there that Trump's people have been trying to fight.
I do not believe he died by suicide, no.
Do you have any speculation or view of who killed him?
No, I don't.
Why would somebody kill him in prison?
Somebody can pay a prisoner to kill you for $25 worth of commissary is about the going rate for a hit with a lock today.
To the extent that folks believe that he was murdered to keep him quiet or because he had information on rich and powerful people, that's what do you have any reason to believe that that's true?
I do not.
The next up, Maxwell was asked about Epstein's relationship with certain notable figures, starting with Bill Clinton.
Do you know whether, for example, President Clinton ever received a massage?
I don't believe he did.
With Maxwell then adding that whenever Clinton was on Epstein's plane, that it was actually for humanitarian purposes, right? He had a foundation, and then there was our
Why would he be on Epstein's plane for
How do you know that?
humanitarian
Because we
purposes?
went on a trip together. We went to dinosaur bone hunting in the Dakotas. I want to say 93, 94.
But then notably here, she later added.
I never saw anything inappropriate with Mr. Kennedy.
And then lastly, you had Maxwell talking about herself, repeatedly denying that she saw anything suspicious.
Him being physical with women. I did see that, but nothing that was not consensual. I'm not saying that Mr. Epstein did not do those things. I don't feel comfortable saying that today, given what I now know to be true. So I'm not here to defend him. But what I can say is that I did not participate in that activity.
Right, and then Maxwell, she also made this very specific denial.
I've never recruited a masseuse from Mar-a-Lago.
And that, of course, is notable because Virginia Giuffre claimed to have been recruited by Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago when she was a spa attendant there. But Maxwell also seemed to address some of Giuffre's allegations more directly, calling bullshit on the claim that Prince Andrew had sex with a victim whose name was bleeped out at the interview, but appears to be Giuffre. Maxwell even said that she believes a notorious photo of that victim and Prince Andrew together is, quote, literally fake. But then, with all of this, you have the family of Giuffre, who took her own life this year, having responded to the interview, saying, during Todd Blanche's bizarre interview, she is never challenged about her court-proven lies, providing her a platform to rewrite history. This travesty of justice entirely invalidates the experiences of the many brave survivors who put their safety, security, and lives on the line to ensure her conviction, including our sister. Though with that, it does appear like very soon we're going to be hearing from Giuffre again. Right, and that because her memoir is going to be published on October 21st, with its publisher saying that it'll include new details about her experiences with Epstein and Maxwell's associates, including Prince Andrew. Though they also added that the book contains no allegations of misconduct involving President Trump. But also, even if we don't get anything earth-shattering out of the Maxwell interview or the Giuffre memoir, of course, there's still the holy grail of the evidence, which is the thing that people actually want, the Epstein files. Right, the White House turned this into the Epstein grand jury transcripts and the Epstein interview, but everyone's been asking about the Epstein files. And on that front, I mean, we talked last week about how the House Oversight Committee had subpoenaed the DOJ for the complete cache of files, with the department promising to begin delivering them on Friday. Well, on Friday, they actually did do that, but reportedly, they only sent the committee 33,295 pages out of the roughly 100,000. But then the top Democrat on the committee, Robert Garcia, is saying that 97% of those contain nothing but information that's already been public, and saying that just 3% or less than 1,000 pages contain anything new. Those reportedly including flight logs between 2000 and 2014, as well as forms consistent with re-entry back to the U.S. Now, with that, a Republican spokesperson for the committee told the New York Times that this was only the first batch of documents and that more would be forthcoming. You have Garcia not buying that excuse, with him arguing there is no excuse for incomplete disclosures. Survivors and the American public deserve the truth. This, after he already declared last week, releasing the Epstein files in batches just continues this White House cover-up. Hand-picked, partial productions are wholly insufficient and potentially misleading. And according to the terms of the subpoena, the DOJ was supposed to hand over all of the documents by August 19th, which was last Tuesday. So even this incomplete release came late, and apparently we're still waiting for the batch that includes the parts where, according to the Wall Street Journal, Trump's name is mentioned. And actually, on that note, on Friday, before the files got handed over, Trump was asked whether he thinks they should be released. Within 20 seconds, this guy went from yes, absolutely, to they might embarrass some people, though, to I don't care, do it anyway, it's all a hoax.
Innocent people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that it could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be.
I got my 202 gold back. That's good.
I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax.
But of course, with all that said, this is going to be something we keep
Democrat
our eyes on,
hoax.
especially because in the meantime, Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie are still full steam ahead with their plan to force a vote in the House next month that compelled the DOJ to release the files. And today, the House Oversight Committee subpoenaed Epstein's estate for his will, any disclosure agreements he signed, but non-prosecutorial.
Oh man, they're moving on
agreements
this.
signed in 2007, and any document that could be
They're gonna
potential
try and
client
fuck
list,
him.
phone logs, and visitors logs. With the committee's
They've
chairman,
busted
David
presidents
Stover, also
before.
announcing
That's
that
not
Alex
out of the
Acosta, a
reason
former prosecutor who gave
or out of the
Epstein's
realm of
legal to
possibility.
Epstein
That's
back in
happened
2008,
before.
and later served as Trump's first-term labor secretary, will appear for a transcribed interview next month.
They
And then
canceled
we're
Nixon,
gonna dive even
full blown.
deeper in just a minute. But first, let me ask, you remember that doctor's appointment that you've been avoiding? You know, the one that's been on your list since, 2022? Maybe it's that dentist appointment for
Hey.
your biannual cleaning, or the annual checkup that is now a triannual
Hello?
checkup, or the rash. It's definitely not getting any better.
Come
Which I'll
on.
say, no judgment. We all procrastinate. But here is the deal. Our sponsor, ZocDoc, they make it stupid easy to book a doctor's appointment. Because ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search, compare high-quality in-network doctors, and click to instantly book an appointment. You can filter by
I love you,
insurance,
kitty.
location,
I'm
and choose a
just
doctor
busy.
who's a
I'm
perfect
just busy
fit.
working.
ZocDoc has over
Busy working.
100,000 doctors across every
Bedtime
specialty.
soon,
Mental
kitty.
health, dental, dermatology, urgent care, you name it. Once you find the right doctor, you can book an appointment instantly. And I'm talking 24 to 72 hours or same-day appointments. No more waiting forever to get in. It's quick, it's easy, and it
don't
gets you back
scratch.
on track. I personally use ZocDoc. It was definitely a lifesaver when I moved in the last year.
Or
As
we'll
I'm
kick
getting
you
older,
off
I'm
me.
realizing you gotta listen to your body. It's sending you signals. Ignoring the signals, it
kitty.
doesn't make them disappear. So
Kitty.
stop putting off
Thank
those
you.
doctor's appointments. Scan that QR code or go to
Aw.
ZocDoc.com/Phil to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Phil, ZocDoc.com/Phil. But then next up, we move on from Epstein to the stuff that Trump may be doing to distract everyone from Epstein. But that's not to say it's a nothing. It's still a very, very big deal. Because National Guard troops are now carrying weapons in D.C., and Trump's getting ready to deploy the military to even more U.S. cities. Right, and starting with the situation in D.C., it's now been 2 weeks since Trump declared a crime emergency in the city, with Trump misrepresenting data to put the police department under direct federal control and deploy the National Guard. And notably here, the initial deployment orders specify that the National Guard personnel, while wearing body armor, would not be armed or carry weapons in their vehicle. However, you now have more than 2,000 National Guard troops patrolling the nation's capital, and at least some of them packing. And with that, you have a spokesperson for the Joint Task Force overseeing the mission, claiming that all units with firearms have been trained and they're authorized to use force only as a last resort and solely in response to an imminent threat of death or serious bodily harm. You also have a White House official adding that the Guard will, quote, continue protecting federal assets, including officers, providing a safe environment for officers to make arrests if needed, and providing a visible law enforcement presence to deter crime as they have been since the operation began. Right, and with that, while troops still aren't authorized to make arrests themselves, you got a statement from the force saying that detentions may occur leading to arrests. That said, though, it seems like many troops are being kept out of the action, with, for example, Reuters reporting that National Guard members have been concentrated near the Washington Monument, the Lincoln Memorial, and in view of the U.S. Capitol, which are pretty much the safest parts of the city. And so then, on the flip side, you got people in Ward 8, right, the area with the highest crime rate in the city. They've reportedly been saying that there's been little to no military presence at all, which is really notable because the murder rate is so much worse there than in other parts of D.C. that many locals reportedly said they would welcome troops on their streets. Although, to be clear, this whole thing, overall, it is still wildly unpopular. I mean, a recent poll found that roughly 80% of the city's residents are opposed to the deployment of both federal officers and the National Guard. The polling aside, right, the lack of troops in high crime areas, it's one reason that you have many people saying that this massive deployment is just a show of power more than a serious effort to fight crime. Although I will say there's also a concern that the true purpose here is actually going after undocumented immigrants. Right? Because while we have seen a decent drop in reported crime since this started, we've also seen a huge spike in immigration arrests. And if you try to make a comparison, you'll find that over the first 6 months of Trump's term, ICE arrested about 12 immigrants in D.C. per week on average. But since August 7th, a few days before the takeover, federal officials have arrested 300 people in the city. And in fact, according to analysis, that's more than 10 times the typical ICE arrest numbers for the district. That said, beyond immigration, we've also seen an effort to ramp up the crackdown with things like U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro directing prosecutors to charge the most serious crimes possible in each case and to do so in federal court, where notably sentences tend to run much longer. Though you then also had her telling them to not charge felony offenses for people carrying shotguns or rifles. And with that, she referred to a DOJ memo claiming that D.C. law conflicts with recent Supreme Court rulings on gun
Your
rights.
skill
But
has has
with all that,
increased.
what we ended up seeing is that many people are ending up with serious charges in connection to low-level offenses. And then, for the people who do get arrested, Trump's now trying to make it harder for them to make bail. Specifically here, he's threatening to withhold federal funding or government-backed project approvals from D.C. if it doesn't eliminate what's called cashless bail. Right, cash bail, on the other hand, is something D.C. mostly got rid of in the 1990s. And what that means is it's up to the judge to decide whether a defendant should be released from prison based on the risk of not showing up to trial, instead of being based on how much money he or she has in their bank account. And if you followed this, Trump's railed against cashless bail, claiming that it lets criminals back out into the street and puts people in danger. But notably, their statistics show an extremely small percentage of defendants are arrested for violent crimes while awaiting trial. Of course, stats aren't Trump's strong suit, right? You saw that again on Friday when you had him speaking in the Oval Office, touting his success in D.C., claiming crime has dropped to virtually zero, and specifically celebrating the fact that there hadn't been any murders in the past week.
That's the first time in memory that that's happened, if you can believe it.
Which if you're like, no, I don't believe that, you wouldn't be wrong. It's not even the first week without homicides this year, not even close. There were also no murders reported from May 4th through May 11th, April 11th to the 17th, and more than a 2-week-long period from February 25th through March 12th. Which again, is not to say there are not too many murders in D.C., but Trump's claims are just blatantly false. And that matters even more than usual because the same kind of false and misleading claims are being used to justify potential future deployments of the National Guard to cities like Chicago.
We haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough.
And actually, to focus on Chicago for a second, while crime's still obviously a problem, it's one that is getting better. The city is actually experiencing a historic drop in homicides right now. But despite that, the Pentagon's actually been planning a military deployment to Chicago for weeks, according to the Washington Post, with officials reportedly telling the outlet that the operation would involve mobilizing at least a few thousand members of the National Guard as soon as September, with them then also noting that the use of thousands of active duty troops in Chicago has been discussed, but is considered less likely at this time. With then Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson calling the potential deployment of National Guard troops to a city unlawful, unsustainable, and adding, there are many things the federal government could do to help us reduce crime and violence in Chicago, but sending in the military is not one of them. Also, very notably, another person that's been very outspoken in his criticism of Trump's decision to deploy the military in U.S. cities is Maryland Governor Wes Moore. And actually, that has seemingly moved Baltimore up in Trump's list of cities to target. Though again, even as the city is showing improvement in terms of crime. And actually, the back and forth between Moore and Trump has been very interesting to watch. Just a few days ago, you had Moore formally inviting President Trump to visit the state and participate in a public safety walk, writing in a letter. In the first 6 months of 2025, the Baltimore Police Department continued to see double-digit reductions in gun violence, including a 22% decrease in homicides and a 19% decrease in non-fatal shootings from the year before. We are currently on track to have the lowest number of homicides in Baltimore City since we began officially keeping crime statistics. And adding, even in the face of millions of dollars in cuts to federal funding for violence intervention and gun violence prevention under your administration, our state and local communities continue to invest in proven strategies that help us build safer, more vibrant communities. So we then dropped the formal tone when speaking in person.
Donald Trump, if you are not willing to walk our communities, keep our name out of your mouth.
And then you had Trump responding by accusing Moore of taking a, quote, rather nasty and provocative tone and adding, as a president, I would much prefer that he clean up this crime disaster before I go there for a walk. Wes Moore's record on crime is a very bad one unless he fudges his figures on crime like many of the other blue states are doing. But if Wes Moore needs help, like Gavin Newsom did in L.A., I will send in the troops, which is being done in nearby D.C., and quickly clean up the crime. And then, I guess just for good measure, he also threatened to try and take back federal funding sent to try and replace the Francis Scott Key Bridge, which was destroyed after a container ship crashed into it last year. But ultimately, we're gonna have to wait to see how all this plays out. Especially because, unlike in D.C., Trump doesn't have the power to take control of a local police force. And he's not supposed to be able to deploy a state's National Guard against a governor's wishes unless certain conditions are met. Of course, I say shouldn't because he claimed that conditions were met when he did what he did in L.A. just a few months ago. And I mean, we're still waiting to see what a court has to say about that. But for now, what's clear is that Moore has no intention of backing down, and
come on, it was one hit. Why can't I get the last hit?
It is not sustainable.
Oh,
you cannot
so
continue this type
annoying.
of pace of operations, particularly when it's costing over $1 million a day in order to do this. The second, it's not scalable. You're not going to be able to do this in every single major American city, particularly when many of the cities that have the highest crime rates are the places that have actually deployed their National Guards to Washington, D.C. The third, it's unconstitutional. It's a direct violation of the 10th Amendment. The fourth reason is because it's deeply disrespectful to the members of the National Guard. You know, as someone who actually deployed overseas and served my country in combat, to ask these men and women to do a job that they're not trained for is just deeply disrespectful. There is a multitude of reasons that I'm against this, and I will not authorize the Maryland National Guard to be utilized for this.
And then beyond that, we're also seeing Moore making a name for himself on the national political scene by weighing in on the congressional redistricting in Texas. Moore showing some spine and saying doing the same in Maryland is not off the table.
And if the President of the United States is putting his finger on the scale to try to manipulate elections because he knows that his policies cannot win in a ballot box, then it behooves each and every one of us to be able to keep all options on the table to ensure that the voters' voices can actually be heard.
Trump, meanwhile, is apparently feeling betrayed, claiming Moore once privately told him that he was the greatest president of his lifetime.
He should say, "You're the greatest president of my lifetime."
To which Moore simply replied, "Lol, keep telling yourself that, Mr. President." But for now, we watch, we wait, and in the meantime, I'd really love to know your thoughts, reactions, and opinions here. But then, next up, hopping from one legal battle to another, Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been detained again, and the Trump administration is threatening to deport him to Uganda. And just this afternoon, we got the news that a federal judge has temporarily blocked him from being deported to Uganda until she can hold a hearing. And that is an absolutely massive new twist in what's become one of the most publicized and closely watched stories of President Trump's immigration crackdown. Because Abrego Garcia is that Maryland father who first came into the public eye after the Atlantic reported that he had been wrongfully deported to a prison in El Salvador because of an administrative error. This despite the fact that—
Damn it, they killed my pig somehow. How did he full recover? He was knocked. I knocked him. She healed him, I guess.
He hadn't actually been charged with any crime.
Damn
And with
it, you're
that,
so
you might remember, in
annoying.
order to try and justify their actions, the Trump administration claimed that Abrego Garcia was a member of the violent street gang MS-13, labeling him a terrorist. And that, despite Abrego Garcia denying those claims and several judges even casting doubt on the evidence used to support the allegations. And for a while, you had the Trump administration dragging their feet about getting him back, even after the Supreme Court ruled that his deportation was illegal and that Trump officials needed to facilitate his return as ordered by a federal judge. Then, in early June, nearly 2 months after his wrongful removal, the Trump administration finally brought Abrego Garcia back, but only so they could slap him with human smuggling charges, with prosecutors alleging that he had been part of a years-long conspiracy to haul illegal immigrants from Texas to other parts of the U.S., and claiming that, again, he was also an MS-13 gang member. Though with that, Abrego Garcia denied those accusations. But regardless, after that, he was sent to jail in Tennessee, where he was facing the charges. And while a federal judge ruled that he was eligible for release while awaiting his trial, his lawyers worried that the Trump administration would immediately detain and deport him if he was released. So he ultimately was
I
kept
believe
in
the
custody.
goblin
That is,
killed
until
me.
last
It's so
Friday, when he was
annoying.
released from jail and allowed to return to his family following court rulings that prevented the Trump administration from immediately detaining and deporting him to El Salvador, with those orders also outlining a set of conditions for his release, including check-ins with immigration officials at the ICE field office in Baltimore. But, according to reports, the court orders only prevented Abrego Garcia from deportation to El Salvador. They didn't prevent him from being deported to any other country. And so apparently, that's exactly what the Trump administration is trying to do. Right shortly after his release on Friday, Abrego Garcia's lawyers claimed in court documents that the administration was trying to force their client to plead guilty or face deportation to Uganda. With his lawyers claiming that the day before his release, the government had offered a plea deal that stipulated that he remain in jail, plead guilty to the federal charges against him, and serve whatever sentence got handed down. Right? And in exchange, once his sentence was complete, the government would agree to deport him to Costa Rica, where he could live freely, assuring him that the government there would agree to accept him as either a refugee or a legal
This
resident.
fucking
Then,
mess.
his lawyers claimed that within minutes of Abrego Garcia's release on Friday, ICE informed his legal team that they intended to deport him to Uganda and ordered him to report to the Baltimore field office on Monday morning, and adding that he had until first thing Monday morning to accept the plea deal, quote, or else that offer will be off the table forever. And this notably coming just days after the Ugandan government announced that it had reached a deal with the Trump administration to accept migrants from other countries that the U.S. was seeking to deport. And so as a result, you had his lawyers arguing that this plea deal is further evidence that the government is trying to punish Abrego Garcia for challenging his illegal removal to El Salvador, accusing the Trump administration of trying to coerce Abrego Garcia into pleading guilty and noting that they are threatening to deport him to Uganda even though Costa Rica agreed to accept him, and claiming this is just more evidence for why the judge overseeing the case in Tennessee should throw the charges out, saying the prosecution is vindictive and selective. And that's also something that's been repeatedly echoed by his lawyers' public statements, with one arguing the fact that they're holding Costa Rica as a carrot and using Uganda as a stick to coerce him is such clear evidence that they're weaponizing the immigration system in a manner that is completely unconstitutional. But ultimately today, he was detained again and taken into custody by ICE after showing up for his check-in at the Baltimore field office. Abrego Garcia arriving to a crowd of supporters holding signs demanding his freedom and addressing the demonstrators in Spanish before entering the office, with him thanking those who stood with him and calling on the immigrant community to continue fighting and not give up hope, saying regardless
some,
of what happens
yogurt.
today with ICE, promise me this, that you will keep fighting, praying, believing in dignity and liberty, not just for me, but for all. With his lawyer then later emerging from the facility to inform the crowd that his client had been detained, and saying that when they went to the office this morning, the government's stated intention for the meeting was just a routine check-in interview that was part of his conditions for release, and added, clearly, that was false, and claiming that immigration officials refused to tell him why Abrego Garcia was actually being detained or even where he was being taken. But in a post on X, the Department of Homeland Security announced that ICE had arrested Abrego Garcia and that he will, quote, be processed for removal to Uganda. Though, very notably here, you had the permanent secretary of Uganda's Ministry of Foreign Affairs telling the New York Times that the government had not yet received a formal communication from the U.S. that Abrego Garcia would be sent there. And also, shortly after he was detained, his legal team filed a new lawsuit fighting his deportation and filing what is called a habeas petition, requesting that he be assured his due process rights to not be removed from the U.S. until he can make his case for humanitarian protection. With a petition claiming that the Trump administration had re-arrested Abrego Garcia without allowing him to express fears of persecution and torture that could happen if he was deported to Uganda. And just this afternoon, we got the news that a federal judge has temporarily blocked him from being deported to Uganda until she can hold a hearing. Though, of course, we're going to have to see what actually happens because the Trump administration has repeatedly ignored court orders and normal judicial processes throughout this entire case. So you've been saying, there's no reason to expect that they would stop now. But that, my friend, is the end of today's show. Tap or click right here to watch your newest episode of my podcast, or tap or click right here to watch the most recent Philip DeFranco show. I've even got links in the description for you for either of those, for YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you most enjoy getting filled in. Thank you for watching. I love your faces, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow.
Oh, it's all sticky. Ugh. I'm headed off to get pigs, I guess. Yeah, go get pigs. Okay.
The religious group in question is known as the Fellowship of Friends.
I'm Peter Livers. I'm the programs manager in the Chrome developer relations team. I'm really excited about a lot of the tools that, or the ability that Chrome has to track a lot of these things to make the web faster.
They had this exercise where you couldn't use the word I. You had to refer to yourself as it. It's an evil organization. It's a cult.
When I started to make inquiries, I found out that my own son had been seduced by Burton.
Today, I want to talk about the Fellowship of Friends. Sounds wholesome. It's not. It's really not, actually. It is criminal and perverted. Welcome to my channel. This is a cult that's been around since the 70s, but recently it infiltrated Google, and there was a guy who raised the alarm, like an employee at Google. This employee ended up getting fired for speaking out about it and sued Google. I reached out to him. He responded. I had questions for him. He needs to run it by his attorney because there's a whole thing with the lawsuit I'll get into. I wasn't able to get answers by this deadline for this video, but if he can answer them after his lawyer says okay, if that happens, I will update you guys with that. But anyway, let's just get into this because obviously it's going to be crazy, okay? His name was Robert Earl Burton, and he was born in Little Rock, Arkansas in 1939. When Rob Yart was 4 years old, his family moved to California. They lived there. He ended up graduating from San Jose State University with a bachelor's degree in elementary education, which is concerning because he actually got kicked out for being inappropriate with the students. It says here, quote, he was too friendly. Robert actually went to this Quaker church in Berkeley, and that is believed to be where he got the name Fellowship of Friends. I guess that's a Quaker thing. I don't know. I hate oatmeal. A few years after that, he ends up joining another movement called the Fourth Way. The Fourth Way was started by a Russian guy. His name was George Gurdjieff.
I went to a very expensive, prestigious academy when I was a child named Moravian Academy. And it was not a cult, but it definitely was a Quaker Shaker cell of people. And they had us go to chapel every Wednesday, and they had us dress in blazers and jumpers. And well, not me in jumpers, but, you know, like the girls were in jumpers and the boys were in blazers, and they were very strict, and they were like kind of Catholic, but not really. And they talked about metaphysics, but they didn't push it on us at all. And they were not like a cult in any way or form. They were wonderful people. Like, I got nothing negative to say about them. They were wonderful educators. They're wonderful people. But you know, being around Moravian enough to know they are very ritualistic people. Very, very ritualistic. They observe something like 18 holidays a year or something like that. I swear to God, they do, like Vespers and stuff like that. They have a lot of stuff going on. Like Easter is a really big thing for them. And so, yeah, being Catholic Quaker, coming up Catholic Quaker until I was like, I don't know, 10 or something. I was around people like this, and it's kind of interesting. I wouldn't call them a cult, but they definitely are a religious cell of people.
Well, some people say he's Russian. Some
They
people say
believe
he's
that
Greek,
faith is
Armenian.
very, very
I don't
important for their lives. And I have no issue with this. I just don't subscribe.
know. This guy's teachings were basically that
You should
humans
subscribe.
were in a semi-asleep state of consciousness, like waking sleep. And the only way to truly become conscious is to do radical self-awareness. The thing is, with Mr. Robert, he would end up breaking off from Fourth Way, starting his own thing. He claimed to be a certain
I can't stop eating yogurt. I got to put it away or I'll kill this whole thing. Nobody should eat a whole thing of yogurt. No way. Hi, kitty. How you doing? Kind of cold in here now. So we don't have to worry about the outside. A lot quieter in here, kitty. Sorry it's so loud. You are special to me, kitty. You hear me say it? You're special to me. Hi. I try to be positive with the kitty. Sometimes
special being called
sometimes I think she's upset with how loud I am, but I don't care.
man number 5, which is, quote, a self-conscious
Yeah.
being
Oh no,
possessed
you're
of
happy.
higher knowledge and
No, she's happy. She came to tell me she's happy. She's like, no, I'm happy. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, she's unhappy with me. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm not doing for you, kitty. I feed her well. I let her out at 7 a.m. every day for all day so she can roam her farmhouse life. I cuddle her 3 to 5 times a day. I'm her morning buddy. She wakes up with me in the morning. And we just cuddle like little lovers. And I treat this cat so well. But there's times when she's unhappy. She's just not getting enough attention, or, you know, something's not right, or it's just a little too loud, or she's a little too old maybe for how much ruckus there is or something. She's a little unhappy. And so I try and commiserate with her. I'm like, you know, I'm sorry that you're not totally happy sometimes. I can see it on her face. She's like, you're loud. You're kind of younger. She's a very reserved old matronly lady now. She's like 14 years old. In cat years, that's probably, I would say, 70, 75. And so I am probably kind of old for her. I'm probably kind of young for her, and a little bit too rambunctious young energy. I'm only 40 something odd years old. In cat years, it would be like 7, right? I'm only 7 in cat years. She's like 14 in cat years, and or is that right? No, I'm a little bit more than 7. I'm halfway, or a little bit less than halfway. So what is that? That's like I'm like 9. I'm like 9 in cat years, but she's 14. So I'm actually a child in her estimation. I would say I am a child in her estimation, even being a 40-year-old man-child or whatever. But she knows that I'm loud and I'm boorish and I don't care and I'm talking about her relentlessly and I don't stop talking because it's my job and it just it annoys her. So I try to commiserate with her, being like, I'm sorry I'm like this,
And emotions than most people. They became known as the Fellowship of Friends. And soon after he created them, he also made sure to file for a 501c tax exemption based on being a religious organization. And you'll see they make a lot of money, and it's not just from their crazy donations that they get, but very, very successful winery that they have. This winery is also like a big part of the connections with Google, and it's a actually very well-known winery. According to a former member who was called Charles Randall, who was the chief financial officer, we made up the religion to cover the fact that it was otherwise Robert doing whatever the hell he wanted. He left the fellowship in 1994, noting he was disillusioned by claims of sexual coercion. This same year, in 1971, when they filed for this tax exemption, they also bought this property. It was like over 1,000 acres of land that would become the winery. This town, small town called Oregon House, that was like, I think 150 or so miles from Sacramento. He named it Apollo. He predicted several doomsdays, many of which did not, all of them, none of them came to fruition, to be honest. And he kept losing followers after each one. Kitty. But the idea of this whole thing was basically this, okay? This property, Apollo, was also known as the Ark, like Noah's Ark. And when the apocalypse came, everything would be swept away, but Apollo would survive. And all the people, his followers that were there, would survive. And then they would rebuild civilization with this high art influence and have like a new group of enlightened, artistic, fabulous people. Great. What's wrong with that? You'll see a lot later. Give me a minute. The first apocalypse that he predicted was going to be in 1984, and he said there would be an economic collapse in 1984. So, the stock market crash in the 80s. Did you know that? Yeah. Maybe they thought that he was onto something. But as you'll see in 1984, something else collapsed and crashed. It was a horrible lawsuit that he was faced with. But before that, I want to talk to you about his Galleria. These are some of the amazing items that he had to raise your vibration. Fine porcelain, French and English silver, old master paintings, Chinese furniture from the Ming and early Qing dynasties. I feel like I said that wrong. A Roman amphitheater, Baroque bronze statues, gardens, replicas of Michelangelo's David, herds of water buffalo. Apparently he had like 24 white camels and peacocks as well. One of the tactics that Robert used to recruit people in the early days was to go to these bookstores and find these self-help type of books and put bookmarks in them with the contact information for the cult and basically like join the Fellowship of Friends. So people who are reading books that maybe were in a tough time in their life looking for a sign for help or something would see the bookmark and be like, oh my God, let me contact them, and then boop, you're in a cult. Oops. Their beliefs at first honestly sound pretty nice because Robert believes that to ascend, to become higher consciousness, you need to surround yourself with fine art, the good life, nice fancy things. He would call them impressions, and you would basically get these impressions, I guess, from being surrounded by the art that would allow you to elevate. Okay, no problem. The problem, it comes when we get into his rules and the things he did. Because he also claimed that there were 44 angels, and these angels were basically famous people like Benjamin Franklin, Leonardo da Vinci, William Shakespeare, famous people like that who were really angels, he said. And those people, those angels, would communicate with him, and it was them who gave him the rules. He didn't want to make these rules. Okay, it was the angels. Blame the angels. Some of these 44 angels, I said William Shakespeare, Jesus Christ, Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, Johann Sebastian Bach, Leonardo da Vinci, Plato, Walt Whitman. I almost said Walter White from like Breaking Bad. The angel of meth, Leonardo da Vinci, came down and visited him personally. He said, quote, Leonardo and I are very different, but we're also very similar from the point of view of presence. Like, you know what I mean? This video is sponsored by ExpressVPN. Oh my God. Look. Oh my God. Do you know what that means? I have a VPN. The way I was told, it's a tunnel. Think of a tunnel that protects your information from your device to the internet as it's communicating. That tunnel is a tunnel of protection. And ExpressVPN is the best tunnel of all the tunnels. Why? Well, many reasons, but one of them is they have the fastest speeds. Second of all, they have 24/7 customer service. They will respond to you in seconds, not hours. Additionally, they have something called their trusted server technology, which makes it impossible for them to save your information so nothing can be taken. They were even tested by a third party. So why don't you use them? Me personally, what I like to use it for is when I'm traveling for shows and also for security. So if I'm at the airport and I want to hook up to the Wi-Fi, always make sure I have my VPN. If I'm at a cafe or something, whether I'm traveling or not, basically any public Wi-Fi, it's really important to have a VPN. And what I really like to use it for is when I'm traveling and I want to keep up with shows that are only available in the US at the moment. I can keep up with my shows no matter where I go. You can find out how to get up to 4 months free by clicking the link in the description or go to expressvpn.com/NoorJasmine. Thank you so much to ExpressVPN for supporting my channel, sponsoring this video, and back to the video. Former members said this was all a ruse, a whole ass lie. What this was all really about was, quote, his voracious appetite for perverted sexual pleasure and an elegant lifestyle. He wanted not to have to pay taxes, and he wanted to do weird shit. So what's the weird shit that he did? Well, it starts with these exercises, right? And these are exercises, mental exercises that the angels told him to do. And it starts with dumb rules that don't make sense for him to see how far he can push it and what he can make people do or not do. Some of these rules were no swimming, no laughing, no joking, no smoking, no athletic activity, no eyeglasses, no mixed breed pets. Saying I was also not allowed. The other words that ended up getting banned were hi or thing. No elbows on arms of chair. Okay. No crossing your legs. And he would just do it for a certain amount of time. And then he would just like, okay, we can do it again. The angel said, ex-followers revealed that Robert told them that he was actually a goddess in a male body. And that when they were sleeping with him, they weren't really sleeping with a man. They were actually sleeping with a goddess, and they should be so lucky. He told the male followers this was actually holy sex. Another member talked about how the indoctrination was so much about fear of not going to heaven and going to hell and suffering for the rest of time. And so he said, quote, his DICK was a golden chain to heaven, and that sucking on it would take him to heaven. He hates women, and this is really interesting here because he was like, have you noticed that none of the angels are women? Even God said there's only one angel, who's Queen Elizabeth I. I should mention he's gay. A lot of these men would come with their wives who were kind of dragged along with them. It was the men who usually were targeted to be recruited, and then he's venerating them.
I'm Victoria Wild Zyshek. I joined in 1978. Really didn't talk much when I was in the Fellowship of Friends. They had this exercise where you couldn't use the word I. You had to refer to yourself as it. Robert Burton was asking women to give up their children. My husband knew for years that Robert Burton was homosexual and using, young men. I didn't know. He didn't tell me. He didn't share that with me. I found out when a good friend of ours was abused. Everything's controlled. The way you think is controlled. Can't really talk about anything. It's an evil organization. It's a cult. Everybody who's there is abused in some way on some level.
Homosexuality was totally banned unless with him. If the men were having relations with each other or there was a couple forming between two men, he would crack down on that shit hard. He didn't want them to do anything with each other.
Why would you move? It's like you want me to die.
Also,
why would you move? Move.
If you broke the rules, you would get fined. So there was a couple that had sex before getting married, and he fined them $1,500. The way that he would coerce these men is that he would have them come over on a religious visa, like as if they're working for the church, and then he would put them to work and pay them. They would become dependent for their living. They would live on that compound, Apollo, work for him. They brought their family, and then he would use that if something went wrong with their like visa needed to be renewed or something like that. He would use that to coerce them to perform sexual acts on him. Another way to gain enlightenment, according to Robert, was for him to have these love fests where he would basically sleep with his followers. And one of his most enlightened love fests was when he attempted to sleep with 100 of his followers.
Oh my God.
Another thing he really didn't like was babies. Okay. If any of the women got pregnant, they would be forced into an abortion. Like there was one case, this guy, he goes by Nathan in this article, but that's not his real name. And this
Why do
quote is
people
so
follow
messed up, I'm
these
gonna tell you
crazy
right now.
shitheads?
If you
Why
need a
do they
trigger
do
warning,
it?
skip, because what he admits to is not cool at all. Okay,
Sheeple.
so the reason why Robert didn't want any babies is because he couldn't put them on the ark. Okay, no babies on the ark. This is the quote. He said, "When my wife became pregnant, Robert said that the child should be aborted. His explanation was that the child would be born too soon to be included on the ark. And being the fool that I was, I accepted the explanation. It wasn't my best act here on earth. My wife didn't agree to it. It was kind of against her will." Oh my God. Another rule that Robert had was no negativity. You cannot be enlightened and be negative. So this is like truly when they say toxic positivity, this is that, because anybody had a grievance, an issue, something, confront someone, it's like you're being negative. Like, yeah, I took advantage of you. Yeah, I forced you into an abortion. Stop being negative. Instead of being negative, you should pursue the arts. So he encourages his followers to take ballet lessons and learn instruments and learn the finer things in art in life, like art and if I could talk, that one, the thing. Let's talk about the tithing, because this is very important when we talk about Google later on, because of this 10% that all of his members had to pay him every month of their income. So when they all get really good jobs at Google and they have to give him 10%, that's really good for him, isn't it? It is. By the 90s, they are making like $4 to $6 million a year just from the donations. And of course, none of that is taxable. With all this money, right, he's expanding now. They have an opera company, a theater troupe, a ballet, a museum. They even had a zoo at one point. He had like 2,500 members. About 600 or so of these members live on the compound Apollo with him. A lot of the members were college educated, like doctors, lawyers, teachers, things like that. They opened this winery. It's called Renaissance Winery, but there's another label known as Da Vinci wine, which you may have seen. I've seen that in grocery stores in California.
Yeah.
That's their wine. Also Emery
That's
wine.
their
they
wine.
Were well known. Like the wine was actually good. His wine won awards, and apparently like famous people like the presidents and princes and things like that were drinking the wine. It's being served in these settings, while Robert was making $250,000 a year from this winery alone and doing all these things to these alleged minors, allegedly. The workers and even victims were being paid $200 to $400 a month to work 12 to 20-hour shifts out in the sun in this vineyard. For what? I don't know.
My name's Ames Gilbert. I joined the Fellowship of Friends in the end of 1978. I left in November the 6th, 1994. I was in for a long time. I was one of the earliest recruits. For 18 months, the average hours were 18 hours a day, including many operations lasting up to 5 days with no sleep at all. And that was quite common. There was other people that worked harder and longer than I did.
All of these things have been happening at the Apollo compound. And Houston, we have a problem, a lawsuit. His name was Sam Sanders, and in 1984, he filed a $2.75 million lawsuit saying that young men who joined the organization, quote, had been forcefully and unlawfully sexually seduced by Burton. Robert settled that lawsuit, but then in 1996, he got sued again by another.
Oh, it's a real Razorback.
This one
Nice.
saying that he did the same thing to him, except he was a minor. And this story is insane because he did this to this person's father first.
There was the straw that broke the camel's back, and that was the Busby affair. When the elder Busby sent round a letter explaining how he had been seduced by Burton. The real thing was when he said, when I started to make inquiries, I found out that my own son had been seduced by Burton underage. He's got luxury and power and adoration and sex, everything that he wants, but the price is not worth paying. The price in other people's suffering is not worth paying.
My husband was best friends with his father, and we watched Troy grow up, and I knew him when this was happening, when Burton first started inviting him to come over, and I remember he got ulcers.
This ex-member, his name is Troy Busby, and he filed a lawsuit in 1996 saying that he was brainwashed by Robert. Burton also did this to his father, Richard Busby. And this is the quote. It says, Richard then told friends and family about the abuse and found many others who alleged similar experiences, including, to his horror, his own son. Richard included this in a letter he sent to other fellowship members to warn them. He wrote, the greatest shock came from my son Troy, who told me that Robert had been actively pursuing him for sex from the time he entered the school at age 17. So by 1996, when this lawsuit was filed for $2.75 million, the assets of the Fellowship of Friends were $26 million. And again, in this lawsuit, Robert settled. Although homosexuality was banned in 1993, in between these two lawsuits, it wasn't banned anymore. So I don't know if it was just like keeping up with the times or if it was strategic to do with the lawsuit. I don't know. After each lawsuit and settlement and prediction for an apocalypse that didn't happen, he would lose members. So as time went on, he's got less members, less donations, less free labor on the vineyard. And so things started to slow down a little bit, and he got desperate for money. So what did he do? The same year of that second lawsuit, in 1996, he sold all of the Chinese furniture that he had, and it was at Christie's, and it was sold for $11.2 million, and more than 100 pieces of Chinese furniture. And the president of Walt Disney Company, Michael Ovitz, bought a lot of those pieces. So you got some money there. And then he had another prediction. He's like, okay, not 1984. I meant to say 1998. California is going to fall into the ocean. That didn't happen in 1998. So what happened? He lost more followers. So now he's like, shit, I got to go international. And he started going where? Eastern Europe. He had a lot of different factions across the world, but he started really recruiting heavily from there. And here's when he starts to get in trouble with the law. ICE, the immigration, is after him because someone sends a tip to ICE and tells them that he is using these religious visas to get people to come over from overseas, and then he's using them as sex slaves, or as they said, sexual servitude. They end up going in and they even tried to raid him. They brought in the DEA as well because there were rumors about that, and nothing came of it. According to the prosecutors, they said the reason why nothing came of it is because it's very difficult with freedom of religion laws. I'm starting to see a pattern here, because every time he starts having problems with the law, what happens? He starts telling people, there's a doomsday, there's a doomsday. I'm noticing that. Because again, now he predicts another end of the world in 2006. Okay, what's going to happen this time? Nuclear holocaust is going to happen. And basically Armageddon. And it's going to destroy the world, but the Apollo compound is going to be safe. Remember back to that Noah's Ark shit again. He's getting desperate. But what happens in 2006? Nothing. Actually, something did happen. A former member started blogging about it, and then there were forums, and former members started talking, and they were all sort of like, oh yeah, we were definitely in a cult. This is actually fucking crazy. Fast forward to 2021, and we have a podcast by a journalist who heard about this cult from Teal Swan, the YouTuber. It says Brown, who first learned of the cult while speaking to the husband, was the husband of Teal Swan. It says here, Brown, who first learned of the cult while speaking to the husband of the American spiritual leader Teal Swan. Jennings Brown has a podcast called Revelations. It's a 6-part Spotify podcast. If you want to really deep dive into it, that's a great podcast. And then we get to the point where now the whole Google thing. Where's Google and all of this? Here, okay? Googly moogly. It all hit the fan in 2022. Kevin Lloyd, that's who I told you in the beginning of the video I reached out to, he ends up suing Google and also the company that recruited him for work because he's like a contractor with Google, and that's like a whole part of it too. Sued both of them for discrimination, saying that he got fired for speaking out against the cult that was not only infiltrating Google, but having influence and over a whole department. The department was the Google Developers Studio, and it makes videos promoting the company's products. And this department is run by a person called Peter Lubbers. Peter Lubbers is a member of the Fellowship of Friends. There's pictures of him with the leader and everything. He also lives in the Apollo and Oregon House and everything. The other guy who is the person who hired Kevin, who was part of the interview process and stuff, who's also above him, he also is part of the fellowship. The attorney that Kevin used to sue Google and this company was the same attorney that another person used in 2008, also suing the recruiting agency. And this person is Catherine Jones. She also sued. She said that they failed to promote her because she wasn't a member of the Fellowship of Friends. She ended up winning that lawsuit. She got $6.5 million. So that same attorney is now representing this guy, Kevin. So what's Kevin's story? Well, he ended up going to the New York Times and they corroborated a lot of his story, by the way. Kevin ended up getting recommended by this guy called Dan. Okay, Dan. Kevin was now in that same department where the Fellowship of Friends were. He would end up finding out just by asking people like, hey, what do you do? Because he was new from out of town to join. And so he was like, what do you guys do? Like, oh, Oregon House. We're all in Oregon House. And he realized like,
it's because I had the wrong bow.
People on that
God
team,
damn it.
including a lot of the higher ups, were all from this town, Oregon House. And he didn't know anything of it. So then later on, he's talking to another coworker, and he's mentioning that thing of, oh, Oregon House, and the guy tells him that's a cult. So he ends up looking it up online and finding all these things online and being like, holy shit, it's a cult. So he goes to his friend Dan, the one who recommended him for the job, and he's like, oh my God, there's a cult in here. And turns out Dan already knew. And Dan's like, listen, I know, but here's the deal. We can't do anything about it because we're going to lose our job. They're going to shut down this entire department. There's too many of them in there. We're like, the whole thing's going to go to shit. Also, this guy, Peter, like the head of it, like he's kind of a good guy. He helped get a promotion for Dan. And so Dan kind of felt like, I guess he owed him. And so he's like, let's not do anything about it. And so Kevin had a very hard time with that, but was like, okay, fine. He was having such a hard time with it that at 31, he ended up having like a panic attack and going to the hospital. And they're like, oh, is there anything stressing you out in life? And he's just like, work. But really, it's like, oh my God, I work with a fucking cult and I can't tell anyone because when I tell people, they're like, don't do anything about it. He said he at one point went to HR and the people at HR were like, don't tell me this. Don't tell me this. After he had that health thing, he confronted.
Wow. Yeah, we can't help you if you're in a cult. Like, we can help you with HR at work. What can HR at work do to help you with you being, like, you know, indoctrinated into a cult? What can they do? Sue the cult? Are they going to call the cops for you? Maybe, yeah. If they're scared that they'll be criminally liable. Probably the best you could expect from that is perhaps they suspect that they'll be criminally liable if they don't tell, like, the media or something, or like the cops. They don't tell the cops. Excuse me. They don't tell the cops. So, which to me is like telling the media. So it's sort of weird. It's like these stories are so weird.
Like, hey, we got to do something. And again, Dan was like, no. And then he said a week later, he confronted him again. And this time they had a huge argument. Basically, Dan was like, you're going to ruin everything if you talk about this. Stop. And this guy was like, you're the only one who can help me. Don't, like, how can we not do anything? So that was when he feels like Dan freaked out. Allegedly, this is what he thinks, is that Dan freaked out and basically was like, we got to get rid of him before he gets rid of us, essentially. But then, boom, COVID hit. And he ended up moving away, working remote. He even got a promotion, and he thought things were great. But then, suddenly, right after he gets the promotion, he gets fired. And he said it was so bizarre because even the person who was, like, firing him didn't know why he was being fired. They asked him, do you know why you're being fired? He's like, no, I just got promoted. And he thinks it's Dan, that's when he found out about that other case and he got a lawyer and he sued them. There's a settlement, but like he can't talk about the settlement is what he said in the email, but he may be able to ask questions. I tried to ask questions that would be useful that weren't obviously about the settlement, you know what I mean? Google, for their part, said, we have a hard time. I'll read you the quote. Their spokesperson said, it's against the law to ask for the religious affiliations of those who work for us
The
or for our
Google
suppliers.
calls. Wow.
But we'll, of course, thoroughly look into these allegations for any irregularities or improper contracting practices. If we find evidence of policy violations, we will take action. Peter Lovers was no longer employed at the company, and they didn't say why or not. They're like, we don't know him. Let's talk about who this Peter Lubbers guy is, who was the head of that department.
I'm Peter Lubbers. I'm a programs manager in the Chrome developer relations team. I'm really excited about a lot of the tools that, or the ability that Chrome has to track a lot of these things to make the web faster.
When Kevin told Dan, like, what the fuck, this is a cult, he's like, no, Peter's a good guy because he got him that promotion. Okay, so he is a longtime member of the fellowship. He joined the fellowship after coming to the United States from the Netherlands. A lot of the people that he brought in with him and stuff like that were also from the Netherlands. Peter Lubbers also brought in another cult member, and this guy is called Gabe Panel. And it shows here that there's pictures with them together with the Robert, the cult leader, and they have captions on the photos and stuff where they were calling that Gabe guy a new student. And then he ends up getting a job. He was actually the person who interviewed Kevin when Kevin was joining. So they're all in the upper ranks, and he's coming in there and he's like, oh my God, this is a cult and you guys do these things according to what I found online. This isn't cool. Also, they're hiring based on affiliation with the cult. So they're not vetting, they're not checking, like, are these really the people who should be getting this job? And then the whole wine thing, okay? Google was a huge, huge customer of their wines. Let me read you what Kevin said about Google and the winery. So it says, Oregon House has a winery called Grant Marie, formerly Renaissance, from which we'd buy wine by the crate for the events we produced, between 9 to 12 a year. They'd even set up booths just to talk about their wine at these events. Events like the Google I/O after party and the Android Summit, large events with thousands of guests. Sundar himself could have drank this wine. It was certainly served around him. The wine was our most consistent feature, and the invoices I've seen suggest we were buying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth every year just from Grant Marie. Also in this lawsuit, they talk about that guy, Gabe, the one who did the interviews with Kevin, and how he was like acting crazy. So I'll read you the quote. It says, according to the suit, Mr. Panel attended video shoots intoxicated and occasionally threw things at the presenter when he was unhappy with a performance. Mr. Panel said that he did not remember the incidents and that they did not sound like something he would do. He also acknowledged that he'd had problems with alcohol and had sought the help. Peter Lubbers responded to all of this stuff, and he said, quote, my personal religious beliefs are a deeply held private matter. In all my years in tech, they have never played a role in hiring. Damn, I fucked that up. I have always performed my role by bringing in the right talent for the situation, bringing in the right vendors for the jobs. So according to Kevin, the reason why he couldn't just ignore it is because he knew about it. And so he said, quote, once you become aware of this, you become responsible. You can't look away. 2023, there was another lawsuit. This time it was brought by 6 men, and they said that it was not just hundreds, but thousands of young men who were abused by this guy, Robert. They said that it was human trafficking because they were using the visas and all of that to use them as labor and exploit them sexually. So human trafficking. Then it gets really graphic. So I'll just put a little screenshot here. If you guys want to pause it and read it, go ahead. But I don't want those things coming out of my mouth. Okay, I don't want to say it. So I'm not going to say it. In this lawsuit, the former members described the abuse as, quote, rampant and unceasing. They say that it was so rampant and so open and obvious that members knew he had a, quote, entourage of boys and referred to them as Burton's boys. The housekeeper claimed that Burton went through multiple tubes of lubricant a day and that she would find, quote, deposits of brown-colored lubricant in the underwear of Burton and his boys. The housekeeper tried to confront them in 1977 and was told, whatever you see, don't talk about it. it seems like history repeats itself and nothing ever happens to him. So do I think something's going to come from this? Unfortunately and cynically, no. But hopefully and optimistically, I hope so. But I'm not going to hold my breath. As for where the cult is today, Robert is in his 80s. They say he's still creeping and coercing. The cult numbers have shrunk, but they're still pretty decent. Like they say that there's 1,500 total and 500 at Apollo at the headquarters. And that is how a cult somehow infiltrated Google and this whole shit happened. So thanks for watching. Thank you to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to click the link in the description. Go to expressvpn.com/NoorJasmine.
Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Casual Criminalist. Today, mistake or murder. The slaying of Mary Steinhauser. Thank you to Matt who wrote today's episode. I got it in front of me. I'm going to read it. We're going to explore it together. That's the format of the show. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Why not leave a review? I mean, not if you're new. If you've been here regularly and you like the show, then leave a review. If you're new here, you wouldn't even know what you're reviewing. Right now, you'd be like, God, annoying British man waffles on. And speaking of waffling on, let's not do that anymore and get into the episode. It was no later than 8 a.m. on a morning in June of 1975 when 3 inmates housed within the British Columbia Penitentiary in New Westminster, Canada, took control of a portion of the facility by force, capturing over a dozen hostages in the process. Doesn't sound like a mistake if this is how things are going. The names of these 3 men were Andrew Graydon Bruce, Claire Daniel Wilson. Claire, that's a dude's name. Claire Daniel Wilson. Claire must have had a rough time in prison. You're my wife, Claire. And Dwight Douglas Lucas, all 3 career criminals who had committed horrific acts of violence through their lifetimes. Very quickly, an all-hands-on-deck response was ordered, which would lead to an intense 42-hour standoff and see dozens of crisis negotiators working around the clock to meet the men's strange, desperate demands while bringing a peaceful end to the crisis. However, despite the best efforts of everyone involved, not a single hostage would walk away unscathed, and worst of all, one of them, a psychiatric nurse named Mary Steinhauser, would lose her life in tragic fashion. Or perhaps it was taken intentionally. In this case, I don't think it matters. Like, if you, do a, riot, what was it? A riot? Or, taking control of the prison and someone dies, that's fucking on you. That's not a mistake. You took control of the prison. It's definitely reasonably foreseeable that someone could die, and they did. Murder, isn't it? As we'd say in the UK, in it.
It ain't a real word. It's short for in it, innit?
Officially, the Canadian government claims that Mary's death was caused by poor communication and impatience on the parts of both the hostages and the prison staff. But several people who were present at the scene that day dispute this. They have asserted that Mary was intentionally murdered in cold blood by one of her own co-workers, and the Canadian government swept it under the rug to make the story go away. A truly good person. There's a tendency among true crime writers to deify victims, sometimes unconsciously, but usually by design. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Matt's going to explain this to us, but it raises the stakes of, you're good versus evil is a more compelling narrative than one person is killed by another slightly more person. There are a few reasons for this, most of which revolve around the fact that it's oftentimes uncomfortable and or disrespectful.
Yeah, the longbow's way more damage.
Dead. Yeah, but not if they're like a douchebag. Like Jimmy Savile, he was a right... Don't talk ill of the dead, Simon. It's no, I'm glad Jimmy Savile was dead. I just wish he'd have died earlier. When I say stuff like that, my wife's sometimes like, that's not very nice. How is Jimmy fucking Savile? I don't think it was about Jimmy Savile, it wasn't something quite as bad. But, yeah. There is the don't talk ill of the dead thing. Fuck that, dude. Fucking Adolf Hitler. Piece of dude.
I think we should kill Hitler. Me and you.
It's died 50 years ago, probably.
Did he? I didn't even know he was sick.
But there's also an obvious narrative component to it. Without getting too deep into the weeds, it's much easier to tell an impactful story if we gloss over the victim's flaws. After all,
what was the clip they just played? What was this clip? I was like, is that Norm?
Don't talk ill of the dead thing. Fuck that, dude. Fucking Adolf Hitler. Piece of dude.
I think we should kill Hitler. Me and you.
It's like he died 50 years ago.
Did he? I didn't even know he was sick.
But there's all...
Why is that so dumbly funny? Something about Norm's sense of humor has always cracked me up. He was really actually so fucking funny. He was so funny. I didn't even know he was sick. It's weird how much more damage the fucking, like, the fucking long recurve bow does. It's weird. 112. I should go get another pig. Like, I should go get another one and just level it. I don't know why I don't know. I don't know why I have trouble with this. The pigs. Sometimes they're there and they're really easy to get. Sometimes they aren't. I like how peaceful this game is. It's a very naturalist, peaceful game.
Also, an obvious narrative component to it. Without getting too deep into the weeds, it's much easier to tell an impactful story if we gloss over the victim's flaws. After all, the better the person was, the worse the loss feels. Fortunately, however, in Mary Steinhauser's case, there's little need for that now standard embellishment, as everything I've read, official records, media accounts, and interviews with those who knew her, makes it abundantly clear that she really was just an exceptional and selfless human being, even as far back as her childhood. I mean, you're also starting from a position, she is a nurse in a prison. Like,
women are usually sort of selfless like that. It's weird,
like,
though.
you could go be a nurse anywhere else. You could go do another job. You're intelligent. Like, why you chose nursing and you chose prison over a whole bunch of other stuff that you could have done. It speaks to something. Like, would I ever do that? No. I'm not that good of a person. I don't want to go into prison. I don't want to be around sick people. I don't want to make prison nurse money. Mary Steinhauser's parents, August and Joanna, were both immigrants from Europe. Ravensburg, Germany, and Vienna, Austria, respectively, would move to Canada between the two world wars. August arrived in 1925 and over a decade before Joanna. He settled in Lake Cowichan, where he worked first as a farmer and then as a sawyer. Not sure what a sawyer is. Joanna came over in 1939, and although they hadn't known one another before emigrating, the pair were married by 1941. Soon they had 2 children, the eldest of whom was Mary. She was born on August 25th, 1942 in Duncan, British Columbia. Her sister Margaret soon followed. From this point on, the girls grew up in a small, tightly knit community. Their school was little more than a 2-room shack, not far from the modest farmhouse that August had purchased for them. That house was surrounded by rows of apple and cherry trees, between which the girls spent many afternoons running and playing. Sounds pretty idyllic, doesn't it? Sounds like fictional, well, not America, but Canada past. This all makes the scene sound a bit like living inside an episode of Little House on the Prairie. I don't know what that is. I mean, I've heard of it, but I've never seen it. But I immediately know what it implies. But like anyone who's ever watched that show would know, rural life also comes with its fair share of struggles and scares, such as when a local girl almost died right in front of the sisters when they were very young. One afternoon, after a storm had caused the nearby Arrow Lake to flood, Mary, Margaret, and several other girls from the area went down to play in the elevated water. They weren't swimming, Margaret would later say, because none of them knew how. Instead, they were wading when one of the girls suddenly dropped out of sight. She had evidently stepped into an unseen dip in the cloudy muck below and had pulled deeper into the lake. After a tense moment, she came up splashing and shouting for help. I wonder, like, this has got me thinking about, have I ever seen something like that as a kid, like where someone almost died? And I'm like, maybe. The closest one I can remember is what happened to me. I was just walking down the street with my family. I was slightly ahead of them, and then a car just swerves off the road and smashes into one of those bollards. You know, the things that, you know, that protect pedestrians. And I'm just like right by it. Smashes right the fuck into that thing, bends it right over, and I'm standing like right there being like, woo, glad that bollard was there. But I'm sure I have. In that moment, Margaret says, all the girls were terrified. They wanted to help, but those that were closest to her couldn't see anything below and didn't want to wade closer because they were afraid of being pulled under themselves. Some considered going for help, but the nearest farmhouse was over half a mile away and knew it would do no good. So they all simply stood there, frozen, All except for Mary, that is. Without hesitation, she sprinted from the shore, quickly dove into the water, and dragged the girl out. What a legend. By the time they reached the shore, the girl's face was blue, her lips purple, and her body coated in muck from the lake bed. Once again, Mary didn't hesitate. She checked for a pulse, and then began performing a crude resuscitation. It wasn't a quick process. Margaret estimated it took 10-15 minutes before the girl finally came to, spitting up water, coughing, but alive. Wait, how old was she at this point? I don't know, it doesn't say. How old was she? Did I miss that? I probably missed it. I can't find it, though. According to Margaret, that's when I realized how brave my sister was. And that bravery and self-sacrificial attitude truly was her most defining quality throughout her life. It was a part of her, a constant, which is what ultimately inspired her to dedicate her life to helping others. Upon graduating from secondary school in Nakusp, BC, Mary went on to earn a bachelor's degree in psychology and sociology, followed shortly by a master's in social work. This enabled her to begin working in various psychiatric hospitals and treatment centres across Canada, which is where she treated people who were often broken, vulnerable, and sometimes dangerous. And she didn't complain, because these were the people who needed care the most. In her 20s, she spent 2 years at Essendale, a mental health facility in Coquitlam in BC, before moving to Queen Street Mental Health Hospital in Toronto for another year. From there, she took a position at Tranquil School for the mentally retarded. This was the past, where she worked for 2 more years. Each of these roles gave her the chance to deepen her knowledge, hone her counselling skills, and reaffirm her commitment to her patients. Yet that commitment would be tested time and time again once she arrived at her newest and final workplace, the infamous British Columbia Penitentiary, better known as the BC Pen. Yeah, that's gonna be tough. Above the Fraser River. Though little more than a collection of small brick and wood buildings at its grand opening in 1874, by 1975 the BC Pen had slowly grown into one of the oldest and most notorious federal prisons in Canada. By the time Mary was hired, it was classified as a maximum security facility. Not just any prison, she worked at a maximum security prison. Composed almost entirely of harsh concrete buildings and surrounded on all sides by tall concrete walls, inside which approximately 450 inmates resided permanently. This is unfortunately all very important to our story, as is the fact that most of those buildings had fallen into severe disrepair after 101 years of neglect, leading to so many issues that we couldn't even begin to list them all. In short, its infrastructure was crumbling, its living and hygiene facilities were exceptionally unsanitary, its food was borderline inedible, and its occupants were miserable.
You've been examined.
Prison is like prison, dude. I made an episode the other day of this very show. I don't know if it's gone out yet, but it was about a dude who was in prison for like 30-something years for a crime he didn't do. And you're like, I mean, if you do the crime and you enter a prison, at least you're like, well, I know why I'm here. But if you don't do anything and then you end up like in this situation, you're like, I don't know. My biggest, I think, part of prison would be I'm just not a very good driver. Like, I'm not bad at driving, but I just do find myself, I'll just be driving along and I'll be like, just thinking about work or something. I'll just be thinking about something on the casual criminal list. And Mark will be like, that's a red light. And I'll be like, oh yeah, it is. Just worrying that I'll run a red light sometime and I'll kill someone. And then I'll be like, off to prison for you, whistle boy. I do try to be a better driver. I don't know, I'm so easily distracted by thoughts. Like, I'll just be thinking about some other shit. And I'll be like, uh-oh. And I completely, like, I get why people, like, don't text and drive. I don't need to be texting and driving to be distracted. I'm just distracted by my own stupid brain. I don't think I'm a danger on the road, just to be clear. I don't think I'm so irresponsible that I shouldn't be driving. I just do see myself as more prone to an accident that is my fault than someone else. To be fair, none of this was exactly novel or surprising, considering the time period and the fact that most of the repairs and upkeep performed throughout the prison's long life had been done by prison work crews. But those explanations didn't make the situation any better for the prisoners housed there, nor did it make treating them for various mental issues any easier. In fact, because the prisoners knew the administration and guards were both well aware and indifferent toward the conditions they were suffering in, there was a tremendous amount of animosity circling, and the situation was constantly...
Oh, so this is Razor, and it actually is closer to my house there than it is to the bandits, which is weird.
Making the prisons nice isn't just so the prisoners are happy, it's so that they don't revolt and kill each other and kill you. It's like, what do they say? Taxes are not for poor people, they're for rich people, because it keeps everyone in line. Like, you don't want rebellion. You don't want them to be, like, off with their heads, some French Revolution shit. A decade earlier in the 1960s, these same problems had caused a series of riots, during which the inmates responsible had only one demand: to be transferred out of the BC pen. That was it. They didn't want to be freed, they just wanted to go anywhere else. Holy shit. It's like, no, I want to be in any other prison. Any other prison beats this. Send me to that Russian prison. The one with the blue dolphin. Send me there. Or black dolphin? Black dolphin. Being the good person that she was, Mary immediately started working behind the scenes to push the administration to reconcile some of these issues. However, she found their response to be lackluster. Budget constraints, she was told, was the main reason for everything, and the Canadian government, despite being well aware of how bad things were on the ground, refused to allocate additional funds. In fact, they'd even stripped down the prison's budget multiple times over the prior few quarters, causing entire amenities and rehabilitation programs to be scrapped. This is a terrible idea for a prison that is already... Matt literally described it as on the verge of boiling over, and then you take away the stuff that's keeping them sane and somewhat entertained. Or just not left staring at the wall, I suppose. Mary was frustrated by this, but in many ways the poor living conditions were only the beginning of the issue she noticed. The staff's consistent overuse of solitary confinement was also detrimental to her work. If individual reports are to be believed, inmates sent to the penthouse would be locked inside tiny concrete cells for up to 23.5 hours a day, during which time they weren't permitted to do anything. No exercise, no recreational activities, no noisy behaviour of any kind. They weren't even permitted to speak to one another, even during the single half-hour period each day when they were permitted to exit their cells and walk up and down the block's tiny corridor. That is going to destroy a person's mind. That's going to destroy someone's mind. Like, that level of isolation. This is what constituted yard time for these prisoners, yet even this tiny daily ritual was not guaranteed, because in those days there were few federal regulations about who could be placed in solitary confinement and for how long. I genuinely think this is torture. Like, I genuinely think that that is a form of torture. It was completely at the discretion of whoever was in charge of the floor at that time, which meant guards could deny prisoners their recreation time for any reason they saw fit, or for no reason at all. As such, overuse became common, and some prisoners spent months at a time without ever seeing daylight once. Yeah, no, I'm not happy about that. Which is, I know people will be like, oh, Simon, but you believe in the death penalty. Like, you've said this many times, and it's like, yeah, I do, but also I don't believe in torture. Like, I think prisoners, you should either decide, you're going to kill them, or you're going to put them in prison. And if they're in prison, don't torture them. Don't let them die. Although some people.
I'm exactly like him.
Pedro Lopez gave a little bit of torture. One of the most egregious examples of this type of abuse occurred during a 4-year period between 1970 and 1974, when a prisoner named Jack McCann spent a total of 1,421 days in solitary confinement. To save everyone else the maths, that meant he only spent 39 days in Gen Pop in 4 years. And prima facie, I'll be like, oh, if I was going to prison, I'll be like, no, I want to be in solitary confinement. I don't want to be with all the animals. Jesus Christ. They're going to stab me and shit. I don't want that. And I think I'll probably spend like 3 days in solitary confinement and be like, I want to go hang out with the animals. Please let me out. I'll take a risk of stabbing as long as I'm not left with my own thoughts for more than another minute. Making matters even worse, the more sadistic guards would oftentimes make conditions worse for the inmates on purpose. They would intentionally turn up the thermostat during the summer or play music at painfully loud volumes as punishment for the entire block. There were also scattered reports of prison officials physically hog-tying and beating prisoners for extended periods of time, doing permanent damage to their bodies and minds. You fucking psychos. I get it's that saying, right? The line between cock and bull. It's not as thick as you think. While not officially endorsed by the prison's administration. Byline 17. Hog-tying. Authorized. The physical abuse was tolerated and largely ignored, and since the general public had little knowledge of it, few people on the outside were calling for reform. Yet once again, Mary could not remain silent. She recognized that prisoners who were subjected to long stays in solitary confinement suffered far worse outcomes than those who were not, and those that were being treated for psychological issues oftentimes lost years of progress after just a few weeks. Unwilling to sit idly by, she brought her concerns to the administration several more times and became known as one of the prison's most outspoken critics. Once again, her complaints fell on deaf ears, and the people who did listen rarely agreed with her. The BC pen was known to house some of the worst prisoners in Canada, most of whom were never getting out, so who really cared if they were a little uncomfortable during their stay or if Mary's treatment plan wasn't working as effectively as it could. There's a big difference between torture and being a little uncomfortable, really. These people deserved it, and the guards made sure Mary knew their opinion as well. Because of the backlash and hostility that she was facing, Mary began telling her co-workers that she was considering quitting.
There's a silver amulet.
Which brings us to one final issue that we need to discuss before moving on, and that's the prison's staffing. According to an official report, the yearly turnover at this time in the BC pen was nearly 40%. You're losing 4 out of every 10 staff every year? God damn, that's really bad. This is horrendous enough on its own, but that number is only accurate when accounting for every person employed by the prison. When focusing on just the corrections officers, the people charged specifically with guarding and securing the prisoners, that rose to a staggering 61%. You're losing most of your corrections officers every year. That is really crazy. That meant that over half the officers on the prison floor had less than a year experience inside the BC pen, and for most of them, this was their first job in corrections, in a maximum security prison. You just got like most of the dudes just being like, yeah, I've never done this before. This is fucking crazy. Get back in the cage before I hogtie you, bitch. Making matters somehow worse, because the administration was well aware that the position was a revolving door, they were hesitant to invest significant time or resources into training the officers.
Of course they were.
Recruit. Instead, a decision was made to give them what was essentially a crash course in self-defense and send them out to shadow another officer until they found their bearings. Most never did, and inmates often took advantage of this fact, like the 3 prisoners in today's story. All right, this isn't just an exploration of Canada's prison system. This is a casual criminalist episode. I was finding it very interesting, like that. The 3 men. To be clear, nothing said so far has been intended to provide justification for what Andrew, Graydon, Bruce, Claire, Daniel Wilson, and Dwight Douglas Lucas are about to do, but it does provide a snapshot of the conditions they were living in. Now let's talk about who they were. Bruce, who would eventually stand up to take the lead in the standoff, was a 26-year-old man who had been incarcerated multiple times throughout his short life from everything from grand theft auto to sexual assault. Wow, really running the gamut there, aren't we? It'd be like grand theft auto to sexual assault to white-collar fraud. Despite his young age, he had already served several years in prison and been released. But in 1970, he'd been rearrested after carrying out a murder-for-hire plot. Wow, he is absolutely running the gamut of crimes. Against a go-go dancer, referred to Mrs.
go-go
Lambin
dancer.
in the newspapers at the time. Mrs. Lambin was involved with Canada's drug cartels, and Bruce had been hired to kill her after it was discovered she was planning to cooperate with the police's investigation into several high-level drug dealers in the area. Bro, Bruce has got to go to prison forever. Like, this... I don't like that 3 strikes law or whatever it is in America, but it's like this dude is he's not getting better, and he's just escalating. We already tried prison for him. Bruce murdered her inside her own home to silence her, and he did so in front of her 7-year-old daughter. Life in prison, right? For this he had been given a life sentence. Well deserved. However, as strange as it may sound, this wasn't severe enough on its own to get Bruce sent to the BC pen. He's a multiple offender who murdered someone as part of a murder-for-hire plot. And that's not enough to send him to this, like, max security prison? Holy shit, who are the criminals in here? As stated, prisoners there were truly the worst of the worst, and Bruce had only been transferred from another lower security prison after an extensive history of hostile behaviour and violence toward prison officials. Who would have thought? This guy? No. The sexual battery, grand theft auto, murder-for-hire, white-collar fraud guy. Just joking. Didn't do any white-collar fraud. Don't sue me. He's probably dead, right? I kind of hope so. He sounds like a real dick. Allegedly. In 1972, he had injured multiple corrections officers within the Saskatchewan Penitentiary with a knife during a failed escape attempt. One of the officers had suffered serious injuries to his hands and abdomen, while another had been used as a hostage. Since that failed escape attempt, the BC pen had become Bruce's permanent home. He spent much of his stay in solitary confinement for the safety of the prison's inexperienced staff. Like Bruce, the second man, Wilson, was also a 26-year-old man with an equally troubling past. As a teenager, he had been convicted of assault, grand theft auto, drug trafficking, forgery, possession of illegal firearms, and breaking and entering. As a result, yeah, this guy's way less serious though. Oh, assault. But assault's not, it might not be that bad. And all the other ones are just kind of like what I would describe as like money crimes. So like stealing, forgery, drug trafficking. He doesn't sound particularly violent, other than the assault charge. We don't know what that's to. Whereas the other guys,
I'm dead. The alchemist cast holy on me while I'm on because my phone texted me. Oh my god. This isn't working. They're too high.
Like the hero, a female hero.
So annoying.
It's funny how those words are so close. For this, he was given 10 years, and like Bruce, he had also made his life even harder by attempting to escape. While being transferred to a court hearing in November of 1974, Wilson and 2 other inmates had attacked 3 officers tasked with transporting them, seriously injuring all 3. If I got 10 years in prison, that's not enough to warrant escaping, right? I'd be like, if I'm in prison for life, and they're like, yeah, no, you gotta go away for life after you ran that red light and killed that grandma. And they're like, well, all I'm gonna do is thinking about escaping, because, like, I just got time on my hands. I'm just gonna start thinking, just all the time, just thinking, because I've got nothing to lose. What are they gonna do? Send me for more prison? One of the officers was stabbed 9 times in the chest and back, while another suffered a broken cheekbone, broken jaw, and a broken nose. After fleeing the scene, Wilson and the other 2 escapees hid out inside a nearby home that belonged to an elderly couple, both of whom were also severely beaten. Lovely. Once the 3 were eventually recaptured, Wilson was charged and convicted on 3 counts of attempted murder, sentenced to life, and then transferred to the BC pen. See, that's the risk. Most people who escape from prison, they are immediately rounded up and put back into prison. And for a longer time. This guy had 10 years, now he's there forever. The 3rd and final prisoner, Lucas, was also a man from Alberta who, despite only being 20 years old, was described as, quote, holding little regard for the life of anyone. Sounds like a psycho, doesn't he? His first conviction had occurred in 1971 when he committed grievous bodily harm during a home robbery. This had earned him only 2 years, and after being released, allowed him and another man, Jack Wayne Weber, to brutally murder a man named Michael Ray Hurd with an axe. Bro's literally an axe murderer. On November the 1st, 1973, the sheer brutality of this crime was what caused Lucas to be sentenced to life at the BC pen, and since arriving, he had also been isolated after attacking a prison guard using the handle of a mop. Okay, well, you can see the type of people BC pen houses. Literal axe murderers. His behaviour was so erratic and unhinged most of the time that he had officially been deemed unfit for rehabilitation by the courts and told he would never be given the option of release. Because of their violent natures, not one of these 3 men were fit to be living amongst Gen Pop. However, in 1975, when the penthouse reached its maximum capacity, with over 90 out of 450 inmates housed there, an order was given by the prison's administration to transfer all 3 back to Gen Pop. Uh-oh. The wolves are about to enter the wolf house. Like, the more powerful wolves. Like, everyone in prison is kind of, everyone's kind of scary and done crimes. But these are like these are like those wolves from those Twilight movies or something. They're like big and powerful. Is that how the Twilight movies work? I saw the second one for some reason. With that decision made, little could be done to prevent what happened next. The taking of hostages. The situation began on June the 9th, 1975 at approximately 8 a.m. when Bruce and Lucas entered an area of the BC pen known as the classification officers. These were offices where prison staff members known as classification officers met with inmates to discuss their needs and craft rehabilitation plans. That sounds very nice and at odds with everything else that we know about BC pen so far. Essentially, think of these officers as a type of counsellor or social worker who had the power to influence where a prisoner was housed, what jobs they were permitted to perform, help them obtain an education, and more. This was the area where Mary worked. At the entrance to this corridor, a single guard sat behind a desk, waiting to sign prisoners in for their appointments. As Bruce and Lucas approached, they presented their passes to him to show that they both had appointments with their counsellors. They were standing side by side when the officer looked down to examine them. This is when Bruce and Lucas drew their knives that they'd previously smuggled out of the prison's kitchen, pointed them directly at the officer's face, and ordered him to stay silent. Aren't the knives in the kitchen like on those wires? Isn't that how it works in that The Orange is the New Black show? There's lots of prison kitchen stuff in there. Aren't the knives like attached so you can't take them out of the kitchens? It seems a really bad idea to have prisoners accessing each
Give prisoners
They
knives,
pointed them
yeah.
directly at the officer's face and ordered him to stay silent. The officer, who wasn't armed with a gun or trained in de-escalation, had probably been there like 4 days, sat completely immobile. It was only his second day working at that station. My 4 days was a joke, so he had no idea how to react, who to call for, or what to do. I mean, it seems like pretty good. Yeah, I'll just be like, all right, I'm gonna do exactly what this
Okay, it's your second day. Here's a maximum security prisoner.
Because I would rather be alive than dead and still have my job. Because then I wouldn't have my job because I'd be dead. Or stabbed. I don't want to get stabbed. Even if I survive, I'd rather not get stabbed and lose my job. Also, I'd definitely sue the shit out of the prison because they obviously haven't trained me correctly for this. Maybe I would want to get stabbed, get a fat payday. Frustrated, Bruce and Lucas stood him up and pressed their blades against his neck. They then led him deeper into the classification officer's main corridor, where Wilson was waiting for them with a knife of his own. He had been let inside the classification corridor earlier that morning and had been waiting for Bruce and Lucas to arrive to put their plan into action. With the blade still pressed against the officer's throat, the three men then marched down the hallway, ordering any prison staff they encountered along the way to walk with them. By the time they reached their destination, Room 9, the prison's social development room, the men had corralled 16 people in total, most of whom would spend the next 2 days serving as hostages. Mary Steinhauser was among them. Very quickly, the hostages were ushered into a smaller storage space inside Room 9, known as the Vault. This is approximately 11 feet long, which is just shy of 4 meters, and 16 feet wide, which is 5.5 meters. It had concrete walls with no windows and housed 2 rows of standing shelves with even more shelving along each wall. Here's a very professional visual that I created in MS Paint.
Yo, I'm gonna have 2 turn-ins.
Signed it.
It's good clay.
All right. I mean, yeah, dude, I don't know if I needed this diagram, because that's exactly how I imagine that. There's a hallway, there's a room, and there is a vault within the room. I have to say, it does look surprisingly well done for MS Paint. I'm suitably impressed. And if that's the size of the door, these rooms are massive, and that's the biggest hallway I've ever seen. Here the hostages were to place their hands on their heads in order to be searched. They were then relieved of their valuables and told to remove their shoes to make running or fighting back more difficult. It was at this point, while she and the rest of the hostages were being forced to cooperate under the threat of violence, that Mary spoke up. She knew she couldn't reason with the men herself because they currently held all the power and were running high on adrenaline. But she did hope to save some of her fellow hostages from enduring the worst of the men's treatment. Bravely, she volunteered herself to be the principal hostage. Bruce, Lucas, or Wilson. Who's Claire? Who's Claire? Why are we using his married name? I want him to be Claire. Would keep their knife on to ensure the cooperation of the rest of the prison staff who were not being held hostage. Speaking of which, the events inside Room 9 were not going unnoticed by others within the prison. By now, armed corrections officers had arrived at the classification officer's main corridor and were attempting to make contact in a way that wouldn't spook the men into doing something irrational. They stood at the entrance to Room 9, which had a Dutch-style door. What is that? Meaning it was split in half horizontally so that the upper portion could be opened without the lower.
Damn, they do a lot of damage. Look, they do a lot of damage as much as I do. Even if they're low level.
Why did the house I grew up in have that? That's really weird. At the time, the top was open and the bottom was closed and locked. The officers were able to see and call
They're
out
damage
the
dealers.
But it would have been very difficult to enter quickly enough for them to take the men down without casualties. Just jump in. As a warning not to proceed past that Dutch-style door, Bruce stepped out of the vault with Mary in front of him. He had his left arm wrapped around her waist to keep her from running, and was pressing his knife into her neck with his other hand. As he would do for the next several hours, he was using her as a human shield. Oh, guys, this is going to be a hard one for you to get out of. Like, I get that you've got hostages, but how's this going to end? Seeing this, the others urged Bruce to remain calm and asked what his demands were. Bruce had expected this question and already carefully planned out what to ask for. First, they wanted restraints to more effectively secure the hostages. As it was, the men were outnumbered by a factor of 5, so they were highly concerned about being taken by surprise and overpowered. Second, they wanted a team of professional negotiators to be brought to the prison, ones with the power to ensure the remainder of their demands could be met. Alongside them, Bruce also requested lawyers for each of them to aid in the negotiations, a high-profile local journalist to document the standoff, and strangely, an executive representative from the Marxist-Leninist Party. What is happening? The reason for this last one was that Bruce had been lobbying the Canadian government in recent months to end the prison's wanton use of solitary confinement, and he had hoped that the standoff could help this representative achieve that goal. I don't think it's going to be great, to be honest, although I am with you on the solitary confinement thing. Third, they demanded a morphine alternative known as Demerol. They had desired this to, as Bruce put it, keep everyone calm. It's like, I need some morphine. It's like, why do you need the morphine? Their fourth and final demand was to have a helicopter flown in to transport all three men to a nearby airport, where they would then board an international flight with the guarantee of safe passage out of the country. It's like, sure, yeah, no, we're definitely going to do that. You're definitely not going to be arrested as soon as that plane lands, and you guys don't have hostages anymore. Sure, definitely not. You're going to be fine. In response, the officers agreed to bring in a negotiation team, something they were already in the process of doing, but they refused to provide the requested restraints. They didn't want to give them any tools that could be used to harm someone. Instead, they focused on fulfilling the request for Demerol, which they correctly assumed the men would prioritize. Yeah, they're going to use it on themselves, right? Which doesn't seem like the best idea in a hostage situation when you are the outnumbered hostage taker. Is now really the time to get high, boys? An officer approached the room with a vial of the medicine and a syringe in his hands. He arrived at the Dutch-style door and was met by Bruce, who was still using Mary as a shield. At first, the officer said that he was required to administer the dose himself, but this caused Bruce to fly into a fit of rage. Bruce told the officer he wasn't playing around, and said if he didn't hand over the entire vial right that moment, he would drag Mary back into the vault, kill her, and then move on to the next hostage. The officer felt as he had no choice but to comply. The officer was correct, just give him the fucking drugs. After moving himself and Mary back into the vault, Bruce dropped some of the Demerol into the syringe and administered a test dose to one of the other hostages. He was afraid that the guards were attempting to poison him. When that hostage didn't immediately die, he then administered a dose for himself. Oh god, with the same needle? Ugh. Standoff. The following hours were very tense, to say the least. For the most part, Bruce walked around room 9 with Mary by his side, while Lucas and Wilson stood watch inside the vault. They continued to maintain order through constant verbal attacks and threats, and told the hostages multiple times that they were now the ones on death row, and urged them to make peace with that. They claimed that if negotiations failed, everyone would die because none of them had any intention of returning to their normal lives inside the prison. They were either leaving safely in a helicopter, or everyone inside room 9 in the vault was going to leave in a body bag. This doesn't sound like the best plan. You should probably leave the hostages with some sort of hope, because otherwise they've got nothing to lose, and people with nothing to lose are real dangerous. Since Bruce's request for restraints still had not been fulfilled, Lucas and Wilson ordered the younger and more physically fit hostages to stand at the very back of the vault, while they themselves remained near the front door. This was done to put as much space between them as possible and prevent any type of planned ambush. They also told several of them that in addition to the knives they were wielding, they had guns and tear gas at the ready in case a firefight broke out. Truthfully, the last part was a lie, but the hostages had no way of
where I
knowing
got that
for
from,
sure. As
Bandit
such,
Leader.
they were far too afraid to risk fighting back, at least for now. While all of this was happening, 2 tactical assault teams, each comprised of 6 men, were being assembled nearby. They were equipped with body armor and handguns positioned out of sight and placed on standby, just in case it was decided that the negotiations had failed. For the next several hours, as the media gathered outside the prison, Bruce, who had then established himself as the decision maker and leader, continued to make demands of the officers. I need more drugs. In response, they requested multiple times to allow everyone to be examined by a doctor to ensure that no one was seriously injured. However, Bruce would not allow this. He was highly concerned about letting too many people exit the vault at once. As the time went on, agitation inside the vault grew because overall things were not exactly going as planned. What a surprise! I mean, he did get the drugs though, it's a good start. Out of frustration, Lucas had singled out a single hostage to ridicule and torment in front of the others, pressing his knife's blade into his eyelid at one point. At the same time, Wilson was becoming angry and angrier, so one of the other female hostages began to have rapport with him, attempting to calm him down. However, she began flirting with him, so Wilson brought her over beside him, and the pair began holding one another, swaying back and forth, kissing. He then gave her Demerol, which she didn't object to. What's happening? That's so
Look,
bizarre.
BM Hunter's really
Back
good.
outside the vault, Bruce was still pacing back and forth with his arms wrapped around Mary and speaking intermittently with negotiators.
I'm gonna let
As
them
a
eat
show
the
of
healer.
good faith and to get things moving again, he eventually agreed to allow one of the hostages, a classification officer with a known heart condition, to be released after it became clear he was at serious risk of collapsing due to stress. In return, a cart filled with sandwiches and sodas was wheeled into the room for everyone to eat, along with a bucket for people to relieve themselves in, essentially a portable toilet. Eventually, a portable toilet was brought in and set up as well. However, this small amount of cooperation between the two parties is where the negotiations stalled again. Bruce was still demanding a helicopter and a guaranteed safe passage out of Canada, but this is not something anyone was willing to agree to. Yeah, it's not surprising. A day turned into night, and it became clear that no more progress would be made that day. Everyone involved was exhausted, and pushing the men too far, the negotiators knew, was a really bad idea. They suggested that everyone get some sleep and resume discussion the following morning, and Bruce agreed. They got to set up a watch, though, right? Like, they can't all just go to sleep. It's a terrible idea. That evening, at around 8 p.m., almost exactly 12 hours since the crisis began, Bruce demanded they be given a large quantity of another drug, a sedative called Nolodar. They then administered a 2-ounce dose to each of the hostages in order to help them sleep. That's so thoughtful of you. At around midnight, they gave another dose to those who needed it. Each of the 3 men slept in shifts. Thankfully, smart. Surprisingly thoughtful with hostages. Yeah, don't get them some Valium or something. They're not going to be able to sleep. They're all crazy. It's a very tense environment in here. Got something to loosen them up. Maybe pass around a couple of brewskis while you're at it. Thankfully, the night was relatively peaceful, thanks to all the drugs. And on Tuesday morning, is that woman who's just shot up some actual morphine derivative. Jesus Christ. The hostages were each permitted to call their relatives in order to have fresh clothing dropped off. Why wouldn't they just give them more prison clothing? Like releasing the ill hostage the previous day, this was done as a show of good faith by Bruce. However, it was also smartly done as a way to demonstrate that he had no desire to end the standoff without their demands being met. He was making preparations for everyone to settle in for a very, very long stay if necessary. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being really dim. It was the hostages who were given new clothes, not the prison people. I thought the prison people's family, that the prisoners' families were bringing them new clothes, but that's not what's happening. I feel like I'll just be like, give them the prison garb. Just go get the prison clothes that we have to wear and give it to them. After this cooperation, more food was delivered along with even more Demerol. Bruce and Wilson then injected themselves, but Lucas refused, opting to maintain a clear head. Smart. Bruce took the most out of all 3 of them. After this, Bruce and Mary settled down in front of a TV that was present inside room 9, where he continued to make demands while keeping his knife in hand. This TV had a VCR attached, which will become relevant very soon. Later in the day, Lucas began having severe stomach pains, likely from the stress. He was seen by a prison doctor who determined that he may be having kidney issues and gave him some pills to help, but Lucas refused to take them, once again worried that someone might be trying to poison him. Well, just get twice as many, give them to the hostages first and see what happens. Or get some, blister packs, so you can see what drug it is. After this, yet another day was gone, and Bruce, Lucas, and Wilson all settled back in for another tense night. What they didn't realize, though, is that everything would be over by dawn. The miscommunication. The situation inside room 9 deteriorated in the early hours of June the 11th. This was approximately 42 hours after the crisis began, and what caused it was a very simple miscommunication. Let me explain. At one point, during the second day, one of the hostages was brought out of the vault to repair the VCR I mentioned earlier. Bruce had been watching it between negotiations, but it had become jammed. While doing this, the hostage and an unnamed officer, charged with standing guard outside the Dutch door, were able to covertly make eye contact with one another. They began communicating by mouthing words and making small hand gestures back and forth as the hostage continued to work. Unfortunately, they were both having completely different conversations without realizing it, and both walked away with separate interpretations of what had been said. Uh-oh. From the perspective of the officer, he believed that the hostages were currently formulating a plan to overpower Bruce, Wilson, and Lucas at 11 p.m. The officer took this information to his superior, who, believing that the plan would be too risky, told the officer to quickly return and order the hostages to wait and let the negotiation team do their jobs. The officer then returned to the door and attempted to do exactly that using a coded message. He requested to speak with the hostage, and Bruce permitted it. The officer told him that, with reference to an earlier television call you had regarding a possible TV broadcast by your wife at 11 p.m., this has just been cancelled. Okay, the guy would be like, what are you talking about? That's not what I was mouthing. The officer walked away, believing that the message had been understood and no attack would occur. But it hadn't. From the very beginning of this interaction, the hostage had interpreted the conversation to mean that a SWAT team was planning to storm room 9 at midnight, and that he was being instructed to inform the rest of the hostages to be ready to fight back if necessary. When the officer left and returned to deliver the coded message, the hostage failed to understand and walked away thinking that the plan was still on. He instructed the rest of the hostages to be ready, and they all began covertly arming themselves. They stealthily wrapped grandkids around their arms to use as makeshift armor, and took hold of anything nearby that could be used as a weapon. They then began mentally readying themselves.
Oh, look, the Daily's Razorback.
When midnight came and went without the SWAT team making a move.
But it's for another 11 hours.
What had gone wrong and began formulating a new kind of desperate.
Maybe it resets. Oh, I don't know. I don't really know. I don't know.
There's no SWAT team. At the time this was being formulated, Wilson had fallen asleep inside the vault.
Well, I got 50 gold, so.
Drugs. Lucas, who was still sober, had collected Wilson's knife to prevent the hostages from taking it. He had placed the knife outside the vault with Bruce and then sat with him and Mary on the sofa in front of the now functional TV. They had both then also fallen asleep by mistake. You guys are the worst fucking hostage takers ever. You're getting high and falling asleep in front of the telly. What are you up to? Seeing this, a simple plan was laid out using hushed whispers. Several of the hostages would pounce on Wilson inside the vault. One would open the door to the vault, and several others would rush out with their makeshift weapons in hand. One of the hostages would use a tripod found within the vault to strike Lucas over the head, immobilizing him. At the same time, 2 others would use their belts to take down Bruce. The riskiest part of the plan was that Bruce was still keeping Mary nearby, and the knives were within arm's reach. That meant the entire breakout needed to be carried out in mere seconds to avoid disaster. It was risky, but their belief that this might be their best opportunity pushed them to try anyway. It does seem like a great opportunity. At 1 a.m., they made their move. They jumped Wilson, successfully immobilizing him as planned. Then the vault door was opened, the other men rushed out, and things immediately went belly up. Lucas was hit 3 times on the head with the tripod, but refused to go down. Likewise, Bruce was able to scramble away and place the knife against Mary's throat before the men could reach him with their belts. The hostages were then forced to retreat back into the vault, where they attempted to pull the door shut. However, it wouldn't close all the way because it was jammed. This resulted in a tug-of-war, and Lucas began slicing wildly at the hostages through the gap in the door. He screamed obscenities as he did, promising to kill everyone. This is when the ultimate tragedy. Oh wait, no, one of these people's gonna die, right? Oh, I completely forgot this is a casual criminal. It's not like hostage-taking excitement episode. Outside room 9, word was quickly spreading among the officers that something was happening, but they didn't know what. Several of them then rushed to the Dutch door, where they saw the following scene unfolding. Lucas was standing at the entrance to the vault, waving his knife and shouting as Bruce continued to hold Mary. His arm wrapped around her waist again, and the knife was approximately 6 inches from her face. Seeing that Mary was in danger, the team leader ordered Bruce to drop his knife. At first he refused, believing that he could keep control of the situation. However, seeing the large number of officers swarming the room made him lose his nerve. He then began to comply, but did so in a jerky way that made the officers believe he had just stabbed Mary. As a result, they opened fire, trying to hit Bruce in the head before they could inflict further harm. Their intentions were supposedly good, but their aim wasn't. Oof, yeah. This doesn't seem like a great idea, guys. 8 shots. He's got a human shield for a reason, you know? Total 8 shots were fired in just a few seconds. 1 struck Bruce in the jaw, 2 struck him in the back as he was falling, 2 were fired at Lucas but missed, and 1 was misfired into the ground, and the 2 final ones fired at Bruce inadvertently struck Mary Steinhauser, one of which pierced her heart. After the barrage was
poor
over,
Mary.
Bruce and Mary dropped to the floor. Lucas saw this and allowed himself to be restrained. With Wilson still subdued by the hostages inside, the crisis was finally over. However, now, the real questions would begin. Do we really believe that this was intentional to kill Mary because she was speaking out against, like, shitty conditions in the prison? That seems a little bit far-fetched. The conspiracy. I have to acknowledge that it's quite rare on the casual criminalist to not mention the name of the man who physically pulled the trigger until the 4th to last page of the script, but here we are. His name was Albert Hollinger, and I've deliberately avoided talking about him until now for one very important reason. He was never charged with Mary's murder because it could never be proven that he intentionally killed her. That needs to be made abundantly clear from the start of this section. However, it should also be made clear that his actions and motivations both during and after the shooting have been called suspect by several people. Several people who aren't us. Other people have called this suspect and weird, but not us. I mean, right now, I've got no reason to think that any of this was deliberate, and I think, poor Albert just was a bit of a shitty shot and made a bad decision to shoot someone who was holding a human hostage. Something else you should know is that the account of the hostage situation I provided thus far comes directly from an 83-page government report known as the Ferris Probe. It was ordered in the aftermath of the shooting for reasons we'll get into, and it provides the government's official narrative by outlining all the prison's issues, the lead up to the hostage situation, the breakout itself, and so on. However, like Hollinger, many questions about this report remain primarily regarding its thoroughness. We'll discuss some of those issues in just a moment, but first, who was Hollinger? Now, on a normal day, he was the security supervisor at the BC Pen, but the hostage situation saw him assuming the role of a unit commander during the standoff. That security supervisor sounds way less badass than unit commander. He was charged with overseeing a squad of 6 men, each armed with a .38 revolver. His team was the first group inside Room 9 during the failed breakout, the ones responsible for firing all the shots that day. Now, as for the conspiracy itself, one of the earliest indicators that something shady might be happening behind the scenes arose when Police Chief Rod Keary misinformed the press that Mary had been stabbed to death by Bruce, not shot by officers. Okay. Newspapers reported this as fact, and the truth did not come out until the official coroner's report was released to the public. This led to a correction being issued where Keary claims that he had simply been misinformed and was working off of incomplete information. All in all, not that big of a deal, but such a major inconsistency so early on sparked massive amounts of interest as people speculated about whether Keary had intentionally lied to protect the officers involved in Mary's death, especially Hollinger, although it's worth noting that his name had not been published at the time. The second bombshell came when Bruce himself went before Judge Philip Groven to provide a full account of the hostage situation, why he had organized it, and how he had smuggled the knives out of the kitchen, and how exactly Mary had
Let's
died.
go identify all those silver rings I have.
But Bruce survived his injuries, and all 3 men were quickly charged with Mary's murder. Oh my god, wait, Bruce got shot in the jaw? He got shot in the face and he survived? Twice in the back? God damn. Did not expect that. It was during this testimony that he scoffed at the claim Mary had been shot by accident while the officers attempted to shoot him, instead claiming she had actually been shot well after he himself was already incapacitated. Okay, I mean, first of all, what reason has Bruce to lie? But also, let's not assume he's telling the truth, because he's a dirty criminal, and seemingly quite a bad person. In Bruce's version, as he lay bleeding on the ground after being shot, Hollinger noticed he was not dead and moved in to shoot him again. Bro, he's down. Seeing this, Mary crawled in front of him to put herself between him and Hollinger, trying to protect him. She screamed, "Don't shoot him." Bruce alleged that Hollinger then raised his gun and deliberately shot Mary twice, killing her almost instantly. His actions, Bruce said, were very deliberate. Unless there's some proof, I just don't believe this. Unless he has something other than his word, I can't really believe this. His superiors had given him the right to fire that gun, and by Christ, someone was going to get themselves shot. That it was Mary and me just made it all the better. They didn't like Mary, and they, especially Hollinger, hate me with a passion. Lucas corroborated this account, alleging that he saw everything happen exactly as Bruce described. He asserted that Hollinger, not them, should be charged with Mary's murder. Now, obviously, these 2 accounts are not entirely reliable on their own, but the growing number of suspicions was enough to have a judicial inquiry ordered. Yeah, I think that seems like a very good idea. I definitely wouldn't necessarily believe it, innocent of proven guilty and all that, and these are 2 prisoners who probably don't very much like the corrections officers in this terrible prison, so I wouldn't take it, I wouldn't just be like, oh my god, that's true. But an inquiry does seem like, a reasonable step forward. And this is how the 83-page Ferris probe came to be. Most people inside the prison who knew the guards involved hoped that it would clear their names. But it didn't. In reality, they, especially Hollinger, ended up looking even worse. According to the report, as medical teams were swooping in to stabilize Mary and Bruce, one of the guards, later revealed to be Hollinger, had gathered all the guns from the armed team and transported them to the prison's lockup. Hollinger then cleaned and stored them without noting who had been assigned which gun, thus ensuring it would be much harder to determine who had delivered the killing blow. That's smart. That's real smart. He'd also taken the time to gather and hide all the spent shell casings from Room 9 and kept them in his possession for a full week before turning them over to his supervisor. Dude, you did this all with the guns? Just throw them away. Why do you just be like, oh no, I just threw them away. And we were at the scene, like, and I just was clearing up, put them in my pocket, got home, and I was like, oh no, these are still here. Oh, fairly black and white, no point keeping them, I just threw them away. Was it a dumb thing to do? Yes. And then I'd just be like, you know, because as you always say, if tampering with evidence is less than the crime you're accused of, tamper away, my dudes. That's not legal advice, don't tamper with evidence, okay? In his own defense, Hollinger claimed that his actions were not ill-intentioned and that mixing the guns up had been a short-sighted mistake. He had gathered the guns because he was afraid another inmate might try to grab one in the aftermath of the shooting. Taking them to the lockup was the prison's standard procedure because it was their designated storage place. Cleaning them was also standard procedure, and he did not consider the consequences from an evidence standpoint for two main reasons. He had been awake for 50 hours, and as he saw it, they had done nothing wrong. Yeah, both entirely reasonable. I'm not suspicious yet. This defense, many believe, didn't quite cut it, because no reasonable person, especially an experienced supervisor involved in a shooting, could think it would be appropriate to gather, hide, or obfuscate crucial evidence in this manner. Yeah, but he's been awake for 50 hours. And the conclusion of the report appeared to agree, quote, the actions immediately subsequent to the breakout of the staff in failing to preserve evidence was contrary to standing orders and is strongly condemned. In particular, 1, the action of one member of the tactical squad in collecting revolvers used, making no note of which person had which revolver, of emptying the cartridges, and in all of rendering it impossible to determine who fired the various shots cannot be justified. His explanation that the reason for collecting the revolvers was because he was concerned that the inmates might gain possession of one of them is not accepted. The conclusion is irresistible, that he deliberately made it impossible for anyone to learn who fired the fatal shot. However, it also defends Hollinger and his team later on, saying, the shooting by members of the force was terribly inept, but under the circumstances, understandable. These men, while expert shots, were not trained for the task assigned to them. This emphasizes the need to have an outside tactical force independent of the penitentiary service available for such incidents. End quote. Eventually, a coroner's jury exonerated all the guards that day, saying that they'd each acted under the assumption that Mary's life was in immediate danger, and none had intended to kill her. As such, Hollinger was never charged, nor was he fired from his role within the prison. I mean, I get that there's a conspiracy here, but I don't know if I buy it. I don't really buy it, to be honest. However, as I stated earlier, the thoroughness of this probe and the coroner's jury has a few holes in it as well. Okay, let's see where this goes. Not necessarily because of what it confirmed, but because of what it ignored. For instance, multiple prisoners who were housed less than 100 yards away from room 9 at the time of the shooting reported hearing a definitive delay between the first 6 shots and the final 2 shots. That is very weird and interesting. They also alleged that no order to stand down was ever heard, and Hollinger's men simply ran in and started shooting. This not only went against what was stated in the Ferris probe, but also corroborated Bruce's version of events in a way that they had no realistic way of planning beforehand. These inconsistencies were eventually published in local newspapers, but they were never followed up on. Some believe intentionally, quote, from the start, the Trudeau cabinet was more interested in deflecting public... Oh yeah, Trudeau 1.0. was more interested in deflecting public criticism of the penitentiary system away from itself than it was in a thorough investigation of the Steinhauser killing. Trudeau also made it clear in announcing the Ferris probe that he did not expect it to delve into the actions of his cabinet or into government policy with regard to such incidents. End quote. So as far as Pierre Trudeau is concerned, and I'm paraphrasing, wrap this shit up as quickly as possible and don't you dare try and blame me. Still, many people kept calling for a renewed investigation, and it seemed like there might be momentum building until the story took a new and unfortunate direction. After her death, rumours that Mary was a prison groupie began to emerge.
Prison
That is a
groupie?
term used to describe a member of prison staff who engages in sexual relations with one or more of the prisoners they're charged with overseeing. Uh-oh. These rumours were sparked by 2 things. The uncovering of a photo of Mary and Bruce standing together at a prison event, which was published in the local newspapers prior to the incident, and assertions from one of Mary's co-workers that she and Bruce had developed an interesting relationship before her death. She was his counsellor, you see, and Bruce had reportedly been spending 3 to 4 hours inside her office each day for several weeks prior to the hostage situation. Okay, but she is the counsellor. It's definitely a bit weird, but it's not like, I don't know. It doesn't seem very in character for Mary, though, does it? With something new to speculate about, the press went wild. The idea that Mary had been killed by her secret lover after their forbidden affair inside the BC pen had soured was too salacious to ignore. At the same time, some began to wonder if she'd been involved in helping plan the whole crisis, if they planned to run away together after he was freed, and so on. The full story is likely nowhere near as interesting. A close friend of Mary, a California professor named Nat Nickerson, had been visiting her in the weeks prior to her death and knew much about her and Bruce's relationship. He explained it like this, quote, Andy found in Mary for the first time a human being, someone in the prison system, I think, that he couldn't pigeonhole as a killer, and it intrigued him. He was in Mary's office every day, and he resented anyone else. This was a problem because he was a powerful figure inside the pen, and she had other people to see. As for Mary, quote, she recognized in Andy an enormous mind. He just toyed with her. Everything she would suggest, it parried. They had arguments. It developed into a relationship between two human beings. It was a very intriguing relationship. They both highly respected each other, and yet they hated each other. Yeah, I don't know, there doesn't seem to be a romantic angle here. It seems to be a professional angle, if anything. To be sure, this arrangement doesn't sound healthy for a counsellor and a patient, but it also doesn't sound romantic in any way. Additionally, several of Mary's other co-workers soon came forward to claim that she was actually afraid of Bruce in the weeks before the incident because he kept behaving in aggressive ways around her. In fact, besides being stonewalled by the prison's administration, he was one of the main reasons that she was considering changing jobs. He had also joked just days before her death that he might hold her hostage someday. Uh-oh. As for Mary's family, they didn't put too much stock in the rumours either. They believe the story was pushed on purpose to draw the public's attention away from the prison's countless failures and abuses, because the media was beginning to criticise Canada's prison system as a punishment system instead of one focused on corrections and rehabilitation, which is fair. Yeah, I mean, we spent like the first couple of pages talking about how shitty this prison is. It seems very fair. If that is what happens, it unfortunately worked, with so much jumbled up misinformation swirling around and Mary's reputation having taken a severe hit.
This one was
the story
good.
Gradually faded into obscurity, at least for the time being. Decades after the incident, a paramedic who'd been present at the scene during the hostage crisis, George High, came forward to claim that he had overheard several guards shouting something very damning as the breakout was happening. One of Hollinger's men was shouting, "Kill her, kill her," as they ran toward the room. As he understood it, they were all angry with Mary because, quote, the guards felt that the prison classification staff was sympathetic to the inmates. They felt that the social workers and Mary Steinhauser were part of the problem, not part of the solution. But to go from there to, like, wanting them dead is a massive leap. But then hearing the kill her, definitely very suspicious. The reason this paramedic waited so long to come forward because he worked for the prison system until his retirement and feared retribution. Quote, I've had to hold my tongue all these years. I just felt like I had to tell somebody. I had to get this off my chest. End quote. By that point, it was far too late. The aftermath. Following
I pressed the wrong button.
A number of reforms were suggested surrounding the prison's use of solitary confinement. Some of them were implemented, but most were rejected. The year after the Steinhauser incident.
What happened? The arrow went over their head. I don't want to die again.
Prison officials were never able to get a handle on the problems.
I better run. I don't want to die. I don't want to die.
For all on November 10th, 1980. By that point, there were less than 100 prisoners housed there, a far cry from the 450 just a few years earlier. As for Albert Hollinger, he died in 2015. He was 82 years old. His obituary described him as a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. It also claims he was a survivor of post-traumatic stress disorder and credited him with being a multi-talented Renaissance man, a police officer, prison guard, motorcyclist, cyclist, circus motorcycle performer, walker, gunsmith, machinist, explosive expert, locksmith, photographer, harmonica
explosive
player,
expert.
Many
Out of
articles have
nowhere.
also written about his life, as he had developed a reputation as an extraordinarily generous person in his later years. Delta Hospital Foundation gave him a special thanks after he donated $400,000 to charity before his death. They say how he worked in corrections until he was 55, and sometimes mention that he was famous for being involved in a hostage incident at the BC Pen in the 70s. But they don't go into details, for obvious reasons. Andrew Bruce, on the other hand, is still alive as far as I'm aware. He was eventually released from prison in 2010. In 2016, he was arrested for public masturbation at a bus stop. Lucas and Wilson have faded into obscurity, and neither I nor multiple other online sleuths have been able to determine if they're alive or dead, and or if they are still incarcerated. Wow, privacy's pretty good, huh? How about that? You don't know. In 2021, Mary's sister wrote a book under the name Margaret Friends about the standoff between Blade and Bullet, the Mary Steinhauser story. It's now assigned as mandatory reading in several criminology classrooms in Kwantlen Polytechnic Institute. Of the book itself, Margaret has said, if this book can get kids down the road to just pause in those moments that they may face where human life hangs in the balance, then it's worth it. And that is the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for being here. Now we're going to have time for a review. You want to review the show? You're listening on Spotify, do so there. Or if you're watching on YouTube, why not drop it on YouTube? And I'll see you next time. I'm sure I'll whisper that. It's not a secret. Give this video a like. Go on then.
Where is a? Where's my pig? Maybe I left him in the courtyard, or sorry, in the graveyard, maybe. That might be it. No, 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 no. Come to me. He was getting hurt. He was getting killed as we speak. Don't kill my pig. No, pig, come with me. I believe it's time to go to bed. Been at this a long time. 15 hours. It's a pretty good day. Why are you in the ground? Okay, guys, I believe I'm going to go to bed here. Just like, double checking to think if I got anything else. Or, well, I'm gonna do probably for like 5 more minutes. I'm gonna check on my rest space, I guess. I will set up to do. I can't believe I lost my hardcore character, but at least it was early. It was early. I gotta stop doing hardcore. I just don't play hardcore enough. I don't play hardcore. I alt tab too much. I know I can't do hardcore. I die over and 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 over again. I don't know why I died to the Mist Lizard. He was 3 levels lower than me, and he was EP. Fucking dumb. I don't really understand that. I was full health, full mana, I full dotted him and everything, and I still fucking died. So dumb. Sandbox RNG. Yeah, Twitch is dying. Sometimes I wonder if I should even be live anymore. I don't know why I should face harassment at all. And I don't care about my Twitch career at all, although it does provide me money. It does bring me a little bit of money to make some of this worth it. I could go live to YouTube and just stop Twitch entirely, but it's like... Two people on. Old People Mayhem Sandbox. Oh. Damn it. No. Stand up. You're so annoying. Oh. I'm out of bullets now. But I do have some metal frags and sulfur, I think. I don't know. I don't really have sulfur, really. I don't really come here to fight. Just came in to see if my base was intact. That was it. I suppose bullets is a thing that I should do. Bullets. You know, I have a crossbow that's inferior to another crossbow. There we go. And then we're going to take some sulfur and GP, sulfur and GP, sulfur and GP. Wait, this was 100 high qual? 100 high qual. I don't have that today. I don't have that right now. Oops, I meant to plant the pumpkins to see if they would be up when I wake in the morning, or see if they would be there when I wake in the morning. Ah, you're so annoying. Oh god, they just like went up and over. Oh god. Try about pumpkining. Ah! I don't mind catching another bite, I just want to actually plant the pumpkins. 3 left, but I gotta move them. I left the backside of the house open so I could do stuff like this. I need the food in the morning. I'm okay with the bite. That's okay. It was heavy out there. gonna spend 5 minutes and do a run and just bring it all back and get even more metal. Cause I have to produce bullets tomorrow, and that's not really cheap. I could take 5 minutes here and do a little tiny bit of work to just sort of stave off how bad that is. So I'm going to. Should only take like 5 minutes. I kind of want to get that RV like running. Oh god. Ah, damn it, he bit me. That son of a bitch. They were like on me instantly. I don't really understand it. Like, I don't have to recycle, I just want to loot. That was some metal. Oh, it's a dog. God damn it. Fine. Dog might make that harder. I don't like a dog, I'm not so sure. Well, if they kill him, it's fine. I mean, that's on cooldown now, so that doesn't really work. That's alright. I did a swing at it, but a dog really kind of ruined it. That's okay. Okay, quit. Autopilot. I'm going to stop now, guys. Thank you so much. I am going to go to bed. I am Skycatlive. Thank you so much for your time. I'm a full-time variety gamer. Come click on the cast face. Come to the Twitch or the YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or a follow. I have thousands of videos on my YouTube channel, which is reflected here. I will be posting this session on my channel as I always do, and I've got years of sessions there. Oh, this one didn't make it up. Okay, got to get that one up. 08 38 49. I thought I queued this one. No. Oh, I almost deleted it. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That's number one. I missed it. Fucking son of a bitch. Anyways, it sucks when you miss number one. It's embarrassing. So anyways, I'm going to stop this video here.